Okay, we'll go ahead and call the February 15th, 2022 Food and Beverage meeting to order. The purpose for tonight's meeting is to listen to several presentations. First of all, I'd like to thank the people sitting up here that's done some hard work and gone through some paperwork and gone through several meetings to get this far, and also thank all the people that are going to present tonight. The presentations weren't a necessary thing that we had to do, but everybody agreed that we should do, so thank you for your patience. And my name is Landon Dean, and I am the representative from the Knightstown Council on this board.
Hello. We can hear you now? Okay. Hi, my name is Mary Nicholson Tate, and I am the representative from the Newcastle City Council.
My name is Corey Murphy, and I was appointed by Mayor York to serve on the advisory committee. And then if you're wanting to watch this on YouTube, I was asked by the county commissioner to explain how to find that. So here we go. Go to henryco.net, henryco.net, scroll to the bottom of the page, click on the YouTube icon. That will take you to Henry County Government's YouTube channel, and we should be streaming live. Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you. Susan Neal, and I was appointed by the county commissioners.
I'm Ron Chu. I'm a commissioner appointment, Southern District.
Hi, I'm Don Davis. I was appointed by the county council.
Okay, to try to accommodate and make it so everybody can see this, we're using two different sets of microphones, so that's why we're kind of fumbling to get used to that. And also, thanks to the folks out in the audience that are going to help us live stream this to every place. So we'll first call up Rusty Connor. If you'd like to come on up and have a seat. And please speak loud. There's some of us that don't hear very well, and also the microphone will pick it up better.
So you want to press the button, it's green. You'll get a 5-minute warning, you'll get a 2-minute warning, and then the sound will go off, and there's a trap door there, and then you'll disappear. That was a joke.
All right, first of all, thank you guys very much for doing this. I know it's a lot of time out of your day, and we appreciate it. I know everyone presenting tonight really appreciates what you guys are doing. And my name is Rusty Connor, and I'm with the Middletown Fall Creek Township Park Department, and we are requesting $48,000 for ADA accessible aluminum bleachers at the park in Dietrich Park in Middletown. And we have 5 ball diamonds, and we would love to replace all the bleachers. Right now we have wooden bleachers, no safety backs on them, no handrails on them, and we'd love to replace them with the aluminum style bleachers with the handrail and the backing on it. In the back of your paper that I gave you is some pictures of what we have right now. Sorry, they're not the highest quality pictures, but you can see the old wooden bleachers at the ball diamonds. And then on the next page, you can see some more wooden bleachers. And one thing I wanted to point out is, and if everyone's been to a ball game before and there's multiple diamonds, foul balls flying. So the new bleachers we're asking for would also put a back railing on it. And with our Babe Ruth diamond connected with our softball and baseball diamonds, we would love to, and you can see on the back page some chain link guardrail around the bleachers themselves with the handrail in the bottom left-hand corner. You can see that. You can see some pricing. I met with a representative out at Draper, and they do not sell these type big bleachers. They did give me some, they do sell the three steps ones for like in a smaller gym and stuff like that, but they gave me some recommendations who I can contact, made in the USA bleachers, to where we can look for some pricing, better pricing on our bleachers. You know, a couple of the questions that I wanted to make sure I clarify tonight. Dietrich Park was blessed to host 4 large ball tournaments. You know, we're trying to support tourism here, trying to get people from out of town to come in town. We hope to host many and more this summer. There were over 500 children participating in our leagues, and then in our tournaments, we had 26 out-of-town teams participating in those tournaments and in our fall ball league. So we're very excited about our upcoming tournaments and continue hosting our tournaments to bring people from out of town into town. How does this project support economic development? Anytime we host tournaments with out-of-town teams coming in, we try to push them towards our hotels here in Newcastle, eating at our local establishments, and you know, and encourage them to spend their money in Henry County. You know, groceries, wherever they stop, gas, food. Also spend money in our concession stand that we run and raise money for the ball diamond itself. So always trying to encourage visitors to do that. Our plan for the 20% match is our ball leagues, our girls softball league and our little league board and the park board is trying to split this in thirds. And so they're participating and helping us out with that. Also, there's some freight charge in there, which the park department's going to cover, which will go into our 20%. They won't give me a freight cost until we order the product itself. So, and everybody knows freight's going up. So we're still in the process of that, but we do have the match with our league, softball board, little league board, and then the park department. So. Also, the completed project will be self-supporting. Installation of the bleachers will be from the park staff and the league volunteers. Is this project looking forward? The park department is always looking for ways to provide safety, handrails for ADA accessible, and we're always looking to what's the word I'm looking for? Accessibilities for our facilities at the park. We're always trying to improve the accessibilities and the safety of anyone who uses our parks. So the project is shovel ready. We're hoping to install them and have them ready by opening day, which is late April, depending on when you order things, getting it in on time and everything like that. Is there evidence of community support? With over 500 children participating, we have both the boys and girls softball boards, along with the park department, and 5 minutes, thank you. Looking to support this project, and so yes, there is outside support, community support. And is this project a X factor? Anytime we can provide a safer and ADA compliant facility to our patrons and visitors, in my opinion, yes, that's an X factor. Anytime we can upgrade our facilities with ADA and safety features, then yes, I'm going to support. I'm going to push the park department and everything we can get there. So. That's all I have, and I'm sure you guys have some questions. So. Did I cover everything?
I just wanted to clarify, you do have the 20%, you've got the agreement between the league and the Parks Department, is that correct?
Yes, we do.
I wanted to make sure of that. Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
The only question that I've got is what impact would you expect this to have on attendance, and what has that trajectory been the last 3 or 4 years?
Trajectory is to add more people coming to the park. I know we have, if you come to Middletown, and we have 5 ball diamonds that we used all the time during the evening, and then I know over 4th of July we always host a tournament. Early spring we always host a tournament, and then our fall league, we run a fall league. And what we try to do is encourage outside teams to come in. Like I said, last year we had over 26 out-of-town teams, and I believe we had 4 or 5 that was from our league or from others in Henry County. I know softball, Tri-High always has a pretty good sized travel ball program that always comes in Newcastle, so we encourage them to come. But the out-of-town teams, we encourage them to come in, and that always increases our attendance. Plus, they spend money in our concession stand and spend money at our local establishments. So,
Is there any schedule tournaments for next year?
yes, like I just said, we have one scheduled over the 4th of July. We have one scheduled in April, and then we always host a tournament after our fall ball league in late October. So. They are non-sanctioned tournaments, so it's not like USSSA or anything like that. They're usually non-sanctioned tournaments, but.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Okay, it looks like we're running a little bit ahead of time, which is unusual. I was going to see if there was any objections by the board if we would go ahead and move on to the next person that would start them early if they're here. Are there any objections? Okay, then we'll go ahead and call Osborne Park Softball Project with Mike Burgum. This takes some coordination here to get 2 microphones. So you'll have a 5-minute warning on your 10-minute presentation, and then a 2-minute warning also. And then at the end of the 10 minutes, an alarm will sound, and then the questioning phase will start. And even though we're all sitting very close, if you could speak loud so that folks in the audience and Mr. Bilbrey's camera and everybody's camera will pick you up.
Do I need to start over? Okay. A little bit of the history of the Osborne Park Softball Diamonds. As some of you know, being around this area for quite a while, this facility's been out there for 40-plus years. It's old. It's the home of the adult softball leagues and youth softball programs up until now. The facility is in need of major renovations. There's been minor improvements done in the past years that have made the facility what it is today. It kind of is a Band-Aid approach for the last 40 years, but over the last couple of years, lights, scoreboard, drainage, Blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of volunteer hours has gone into the Osborne Park softball diamonds. We need more. There's an opportunity here to do more and move forward. One of the things we wanted to talk to you tonight about is the tourism and economic development opportunities this project brings to the table. First and foremost, economic development, number one thing is aesthetically will enhance Osborne Park. Many upgrades have been done and improvements have been done in the last 3 years to Osborne Park. Just for example, 145 new trees have been planted, 65 dead trees have been removed, new playground equipment. The Ted Fitzgerald Trail has recently been installed, new basketball goals and a court, and refurbished open air shelters. The economic development also is, point number 2 is here, provide a safe and updated facility for our children of Henry County to practice, play, recreation, and competitive sports. These are a couple pictures of what the facility looks like right now. We need to bring that up to speed. So developing that will greatly impact our economic aspects of Henry County. Number 3 involves the tourism and economic development aspects of the project. It provides an opportunity to tap into the sports tourism opportunity and bring teams and fans to Henry County. We don't have that opportunity right now. We don't have a facility that's attractive enough to bring teams from out of town to host tournaments. But with this revitalization project and program, we will have that and have the ability to host tournaments like we have done in the past and have a quality program within our league. Plain and simple, the economic development impact, quality parks afford positive economic benefits within our community by enhancing property values, increasing municipal revenue, bringing in home buyers, workers, and visitors. Parks are a tangible reflection of the quality of life in our community. A renovated facility will provide a positive experience for Newcastle and Henry County. Real quickly, there's a couple of pictures of some things that we've done recently within Osborne Park that greatly enhance the facility. Is this project shovel-ready? Yes, very much so. The benefit that we have right now is we're going to be using the current facility blueprint. So what we're going to do is basically tear down the existing structure that's there and build new up and around there. So we will also be able to build according to a budget, whatever that might be. The facility upgrades that we're looking to do now with the Food and Beverage Grant and our money is to put new fencing and backstops up, subsurface and a top surface, new dugouts, batting cages, bleacher areas, and new signage. We also hope down the road that we will grow into the facility and will provide facility upgrades down the road with future funding. The Parks and Recreation Department is capable of supplying $100,000 to the project, which is much more than 20% of the $300,000 we're asking from the Food and Beverage Grant. The opportunity there that we can continue to do some in-kind work to offset some costs. And once the facility is back on track, the complex will be self-sufficient. Annual budgets, tournament revenue, future park partnerships will ensure the longevity and the growth of the facility. Looking forward, the Parks and Recreation Department has a 5-year plan. The softball facility is in that 5-year plan, and it'll grow with the demands of the community. We have a plan that embodies ideals, concepts, policies, and directions. Active community support. We have the Parks and Recreation Department that's fully on board with this financially, manpower, annual budgets, things like that. Little League softball program, the Newcastle High School softball program, and local club teams are excited about how we move forward. Determining the X factor, the youth of our community. This is who we're building this for. This is the exciting part of the project. We're providing the facility in our community for what we currently do not have. We're making the facility something our community can take pride in, and we're considering all the possibilities that will make this happen. Turn it over to Josh real quick to talk a little bit about the newly formed Little League Association.
Yeah, thank you very much. So in October, we decided to take the league that had been here, like Mike said, for a number of years, and had not only problems, I think, with management, but a facility that was not attractive for girls to come and play. And what we saw was a pattern I was not involved in that, but the last 2 or 3 years when we talked to board members of girls that would come and play 1 year and then would go somewhere else, not play softball, play travel. So we decided we really scrapped everything and started a new board, and we joined Little League International, and we now have a sanctioned softball program with Little League International. We will play in the Little League World Series of softball like the boys do, be televised. We'll have the opportunity to go through district, state tournaments and on up to the Little League World Series. With Little League, we do determine a geographic territory, so all girls that live in Henry County in the entirety or attend a Henry County school would be eligible to play. We definitely have in the past and will continue to collaborate with the other leagues, but not all of the towns have leagues like Middletown and Knightstown for girls to play. So we would be able to pick up every girl in Henry County to come and play. The Little League name brings sustainability and credibility to this league that we didn't have. I think one of the reasons it's gone downhill is we didn't have that in place. We've created a strategic board. Little League requires that there be specific positions filled. So, for instance, we have a grounds manager that is their job during the day is working in turf management. We have a treasurer who works in a bank in the financial services industry. So we've been very strategic, I think, from a vision standpoint to make sure we get the right leadership in place for the board and the league going forward. But we've written a ton of grants. We have dilapidated equipment like catcher's gear and everything else in addition to what's there at the facilities. So we are pursuing money locally and at the Little League level with the Pacers, the Reds, places like that, because we need not only the facilities, we've got to have equipment for these girls to be able to play softball.
Real quickly, since we probably have a minute left, supporting tourism. We talked about that before. The Little League has a program calendar. They're going to introduce new league play. They're going to have many more tournaments. Like Josh said, the Little League has an opportunity for state, regional, and district competition, other local groups and teams. Satisfying the need within the community, the renovation at Osborne Park will immediately enhance the usability of the facility, provide opportunities that we currently do not have, afford teams the space and time to practice, allow tournaments to be hosted, draw people to the community, and do so much more. Again, the Food and Beverage Grant will help us strengthen the Parks and Recreation Department's ability to renovate Osborne Park, provide an opportunity to enhance program qualities in Henry County, offer the ability to host local, regional, and state level tournaments, create a safe facility for youth of Henry County to practice and compete, allow the community to take pride in our park system. Thank you.
Approximately how many girls are in the program?
It's a good question. So one thing I forgot to mention in our speed reading of the PowerPoint slides is we have formed a collaboration with the Boys Little League here and the YMCA because of their lack of facilities for T-ball and coach pitch. We are having a joint co-ed T-ball and coach pitch league. So we would anticipate, based on participation, and we're going to host that at Osborne because it's really the only place that has the room and the room to expand. We're anticipating between 400 and 500 kids between our softball, which would start at age 7 and go to 14, and then the co-ed, the joint program that we're having with Newcastle Boys Little League and the YMCA. And we're basing those numbers off what we had last year in softball and then what we jointly had in T-ball and coach pitch amongst all of us.
So what other facilities are available to do this type of activity?
That's a great question too, because the other buy-in from the Newcastle High School, they're helping us renovate the Diamonds in Baker Park. If you drive by there today, all the fencing has gone from varsity softball diamond, so we're increasing the field capabilities. So if we can get the 4 at Osborne Park remodeled, we will have one in Baker Park and another one being redone in Baker Park as well. So that expands our opportunities for practice, play, league, tournaments. It just goes hand in hand.
Okay. Okay, and I may have totally missed this, but are both diamonds getting redone? I mean, I know out there used to be, I think, 2 diamonds for the girls.
We have 4.
4,
We
and
have
then are
4.
all 4 of them getting done?
Yes.
With this money? Okay. Okay, okay, very good. I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
She saved me from asking one of my questions. We also have a proposal from the Newcastle Henry County Sports Park. Are these going to be in conflict with each other?
I would say no. I think one of the advantages that we could have down the road for hosting tournaments is there are not that many places that would have potentially the number of diamonds that we could have to have large tournaments. So when you talk about tourism money and the people coming here, I mean, we went to a lot of these tournaments, and maybe we're one of them, but the travel parents are crazy with softball. But, you know, we went to one tournament where we stayed 2 nights in a hotel in Columbus. We ate every meal down there. We filled up our tank down there. And right now, we just don't have the quality of facilities around to attract those kind of tournaments and get awarded those. But with the Baker Parks being redone and Osborne, and even like Memorial Park and some of the surrounding, you know, if we have a quality facility to present, we would be pretty unique outside of like, you know, Grand Park or somewhere like that. There wouldn't be that many facilities around that would be able to host tournaments. So I think any of these remodels we would collaborate with those people and be able to drive money for our league, but also locally.
Okay. Any questions?
I just have one quick question. What % of your revenue does it take each year to maintain the park at this point?
To maintain the softball diamond?
Yes. Do you have any idea what that might be?
Unfortunately, very little revenue has been put into those, or annual budget has been put into those diamonds in the past. That's where we're trying to bring things up to speed now. We have the benefit of having some money to allocate towards that project, coupled with the Food and Beverage grant. We can stretch that and make it go so much further and get everything accomplished that needs to be accomplished instead of continuing to put Band-Aids on the cause. So the stars lined up perfectly right now for what we have in our budget and what we possibly could receive through the Food and Beverage grant money, which would make this facility complete. We couldn't do it on our own, but we can do it together.
All right, thank you, guys.
Doesn't look like the next presenter's here yet, so good time for a quick break, and we'll get started when she arrives. Okay, it looks like our next presenter is here. It's the Library Business Center with Winnie Logan. You'll have 10 minutes to talk, a 5-minute warning, and then a 2-minute warning, and then 10 minutes of questions. Okay?
Thank you. Is this the green? Okay, all right. Well, this project that I have applied for is part of the library's overall renovation plan. We've recently done a facilities study on the building and know some areas that are going to need some renovation and some upgrades on equipment and things like that. And we've also taken a look at the overall building and the space that we have and have been talking about ways that we can better use the space that we have. And so we are in the process of working towards issuing bonds for the larger overall project later this year. And when this opportunity came up, I thought this might be a good fit for us to apply for some of the food and beverage funds. Just so you know, as well, the library building as it currently was renovated for the last time, or most recently in 2003. So it's been almost 20 years since we renovated the building. And so that's where we are now. The Business Center, and I handed out some of our preliminary drawings of some of the things that we've been talking about. So you have a drawing of the upper level of the library building. And the Business Center that we are proposing will be located on the upper level in the current, if you're familiar with the library now, in the current reference and new materials section. So it's in this, the area I'm speaking about is in this kind of light blue here, this whole section. As we've seen during the coronavirus pandemic, remote work and business needs have changed significantly since the library was last renovated in 2003. So through this project, the library will have the ability to offer remote workers, small businesses, and entrepreneurs the optional space, equipment, and resources that they need to assist them in the success of their work. Over the past few years, we have seen an increase in patrons requesting small group or individual space where they can work. A lot of times people will come in and use our Wi-Fi. We do have Wi-Fi available throughout the building. Many times they'll bring their own computers, or we also have computers as well that they can use. They've asked for spaces to make phone calls and do business, do printing, to take part in, particularly the last couple of years, webinars and online meetings and such as that. So this situation kind of left our staff scrambling to figure out ways that we can still meet our patrons' needs within the settings that the library has right now. We do have some small meeting room space that most of the time is full. Almost every time you walk by there, somebody's in there using it for whatever purpose, study or business or various reasons. And so we did take some of our space and turned it into additional small group meeting space, but there still continues to be a need for even smaller, just like individual use. So we've set up some carrels and things like that where people can kind of sit and have a semi-private area. But this was definitely one of the things that we knew that we wanted to do. So as a part of the business center, we have several little rooms, 3 or 4, I think, that are near that where you see the D on your drawings there. That would be individual space where they could go in, they could do a Zoom meeting or a class or whatever, make phone calls and not, have their privacy, but still be, in the library building and have our facilities available to them. Excuse me. The remodeled business center area will allow us also to provide a centralized area where patrons can access our computers, printers, copiers, scanners, as well as I mentioned, the individual rooms. And we do intend to also add an additional small group kind of board meeting style room that could be used. You kind of see that, it looks like D, it's down here on the other side of C, but it's a little conference kind of room. And so those rooms are very popular as well. Our reference collection, the materials, and our nonfictions collection will also be located in this area. So when people need reference and nonfiction, it's there and easy to access. So I know that one of your considerations for the projects to be selected is tourism and economic development. And while the library may not come to the top of your mind when you think about economic development, it should. And I know it does to Corey, so we've had this conversation before. And he often includes the library on tours for prospective businesses, which I think is wonderful, because having access to a library of our caliber, and I know that I'm biased, I think we have a world-class library here in Henry County, but it's a huge asset for our community. I've heard many times over the years people say, how did Newcastle get such a great library? And my response is always, every time, why would we not? Why would we not have the best library that we possibly can have? So I love our community, and I firmly believe that our community deserves the very best library and the very best of everything that we can possibly provide for them. And so I think that your help with this project would be well-deserved. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you for the presentation, but if you could just clarify for me the tourism and economic factors in the expansion of the library.
Sure. I'll speak more to the economic development, I suppose, although I do think there's a little bit of a tourism, and I can touch on that a little too. But when people are looking to relocate to a community, I think the library, things like the library, the parks, the schools, they are interested in having those amenities and those services available. So I think that we do touch on economic development in that aspect by being able to provide, the quality of service that we do. And so hopefully prospective businesses and anyone who's looking to move to our area will, when you drive by Indiana Avenue and at the corner of Indiana 15th, you can't miss that building, that big, wonderful building. And so I think that speaks to the quality of our community. Tourism, I might stretch that one a little bit, just because we actually do get visitors from out of the area who come to do genealogy and research such as that. So we have a really wonderful, we call it the Indiana Room. Most libraries in Indiana will have that, but it's a space dedicated to Indiana and specifically Henry County. So people who are very interested in genealogy, if they have ancestors who came from here, this is where they're going to come and do their research. You're welcome.
I just was wondering about the 20% required match. I was wondering if I may have missed that. I wanted to see if you could kind of go into detail on that a little bit.
Sure. As I mentioned, this is a part of a larger building renovation project, and so we are pursuing bonds of our own to fund the renovations that we are expecting to do throughout the building. So we will meet that match and more.
So 2 questions. One, what's the cost of the business center remodel?
I have
Isolated, and then, so you're asking for $500,000 for that. And so I'm kind of asking the same thing my colleague asked, because he's trying to hone in on that specific aspect of your larger project and see where the match contribution shakes out.
Sure. So I've based our numbers on, we're working with an architect, and he has given me estimates of how much he would expect the project to come in. He's given us a low number and a high number, and hopefully we end up coming in closer to the low number, but you never know. So I've requested $500,000, and he did, sorry, I didn't bring copies of it with me to give to you, but we do have each of the colored areas on here has its own cost projection. And so he did pull out the business center area and is expecting the renovations there to be between $300,000 and $500,000. So I did request on the high end, because it may turn out to be that much, depending on how the bids come in.
And then a follow-up question. how will you market this? I mean, will it be the business center at the public library, or there's a library over, I believe in Fishers, and they have an entrepreneurship program. So just to the extent possible, share with us how you'll market this new service.
That's a good question. Keep me on my toes. And we market, and we would market it specifically as the business center. We're calling it the business center, and plan to do that because that's, one target group that we're trying to reach, although obviously anyone will be able to use the area. But we market the library services in a variety of ways, through newspaper, a lot through Facebook, of, doing some Facebook advertising of things like, did you know the library has a business center where you can do these kinds of things? We are looking for other opportunities to get out into the community to let people know the services that we have. So for instance, I know the Chamber of Commerce is having a business conference coming up in, a month, I think it is. The library's going to have a booth there. So we'll be doing more things like that. So we're going to be at the booth to say, here are the things that the library has that can support you in your business, or if you're, an entrepreneur and you're looking to start a business and things like that. So we're going to be doing those kinds of things. We go out to the fairs and a variety of ways. So that's just a few things off the top of my head that we might be able to do.
Okay, it's been about 50 years since I started going to a library. And when I was young, if you didn't have a book on the shelf at home and you didn't buy a new one, you went to the library because that was the only way to get the information. And Xerox was still the name on only copiers that they had. Well, it's a very different world we live in today with e-books and the internet. The mission of libraries has to change. What do you see the library's mission for the future, and how does this project address that?
Sure. Our mission statement at the library is to provide resources and services to help our community live, learn, and grow. So we want to help Newcastle and the Henry County area be a place where people are proud to live, where they can live their best life here and enjoy their life. We want to help them in their learning because we think that lifelong learning is important, and we provide services from cradle to the grave and every age in between. And we want to be able to help Henry County grow and support our citizens in that way. And so I think that this is libraries, and not just us, but we've had to be flexible and nimble and not stay within our box of we're only about books. And so we are constantly looking for trends and for ways that we can continue to serve our community. And, part of that also is just listening to our community of them saying, here's what we need. How can you meet this need? So that's, as I mentioned, we've had people come in and asking for, I need space to take a class. I need space to, have this Zoom call or whatever. And so we've had lots of conversations and, figured it out as best as we can. So I think that this business center can definitely help us move towards having a more dedicated space to do the things that people are even currently asking for.
Just to clarify on our shovel-ready ranking, if this would be approved by the council, is this project ready to go? I know you're seeking bonds, but you feel like that will be, it would be a go, right?
Yes, I would expect it to be. We are going to the county council again this month. We have to have their approval before we can issue bonds. So I'm hopeful that they give us the green light at their next meeting, at which point we will, the architect is already, we've done some preliminary drawings and things like that, so we know where we're headed. But at that point, we'll say, okay, go. And he'll, do all that he needs to do so that we can get out to bid this summer with the project, late summer, and hopefully issuing bonds in the fall and start construction soon thereafter. Thank you.
Okay, so next up is the Knightstown Wireless Project with Linda Lashbrook and Joe Peacock.
5 minutes, or 10 minutes, 5-minute warning, 2-minute warning, correct? Thank you. No, you're fine. I just wanted to verify. Corey said about the trap door, and that may apply to me if anybody's ever met me before. First of all, thank you for being here this evening and actually taking the time to listen to the proposals from all of the groups. It's great that you serve this, and that is wonderful. So I'm here to represent three different organizations. Beautify Knightstown, Knightstown Main Street, which is also involved in this project, as well as the town of Knightstown. We are hoping to have a private-public collaboration. We have 4 local businesses that are actually involved in this project that are wanting to support this project financially through their private donations, as well as we're going to be asking the town of Knightstown to take on a portion of this ongoing monthly wireless, because they will benefit from that through the police department as well as through the town, because with this wireless program, the town can then put their surveillance cameras back up, at which point, which are not working right now and are obsolete and will not work on the program that they have now. Since they have moved to town hall, those cameras will not work anymore. So this wireless program is really near and dear to our heart, with a group of about 20 of us. And with our letters of support, you also find that our school superintendent, that was late to the packet, and I apologize. That got kind of lost on the shelf. Well, actually, we lost it. So we had to ask him to rewrite it. And he said, oh, no problem, I have it. I'll just redate it. But currently, we have Sarah Ward, who is our town council president, who gave us a letter of support. We have the Redevelopment Commission, which we're very proud of to have in Knightstown. It's newly formed and has done some outstanding things. We have the new Carey Center for Children that is currently off the ground, has had some pretty large donations put to it, and some great community leaders, the Chamber of Commerce, as well as our existing business along Main Street and along the square. Several of those have also come out in support of this. One of the great things about having the free Wi-Fi is any of the visitors that come into town, now the businesses can do targeted ads through Facebook, through Instagram. You can literally target those and zero that right in on our IP address for our free Wi-Fi. It really is almost scary the way you can do this as a business. And we have several businesses in the town that already do targeted ads, but what we want is those targeted ads to come right up on their phones while they're walking around town, because that's what people do. They walk around town and they Google what's the next thing they want to look at, and those ads are going to pop up. They're going to go, oh, wow, it's scary. My phone's creeping on me. Yeah, it is. That's really what it does. So it's great from an economic standpoint for the business to be able to tout. They can have a different special every 2 hours. They can tout themselves of, for the next 1 hour, here's what we have. I mean, it's really neat the way that this can be done. From a public standpoint, the Knightstown Makers Market is a much larger piece of this public Wi-Fi that is fully funded. We already have all the funds for that, as well as we also have a new outdoor seating area that is going to be put in that 2 of our restaurants right on the square are going to share. So all of these folks can now sit at this public outdoor dining area, which will also have the addition of new outdoor public restrooms to be utilized just adjacent to it, and they're all going to be on their phones looking for that Wi-Fi. So by doing this, we can also now target more advertising directly to our Knightstown Makers Market folks, and that was one of the big pieces. We modeled this after a very successful Makers Market in Muskegon, Michigan. We took a field trip up there, we took a look at it, and one of the items that they found in the first year is that they were lacking free Wi-Fi there and at their Makers Market. Their Farmers Market. And they immediately put that in the second year. They immediately then saw that rate soar. So we've partnered with 9-Star Communications. In Knightstown, we're kind of trying to go, and I know many folks are, we're trying to go with live local, spend local. And 9-Star spends a lot of money in our community, gives back to our community, and also provides some really great services to rural areas that normally wouldn't. We didn't bother to reach out to Embark to see if they wanted to partner with us. We didn't figure that somebody in Asia could answer that question for us. So we went with where we were at because they are a local business and they support us locally. Nine Star has reduced the total for us because as a good faith effort to show us that they want to do this with us. Thank you. Our 20% match has already been met, but we also have a $3,000 reserve that is not currently accounted for in our budget that we applied for with our application, with another private business that is willing to cover a $3,000 contingency fee for us in case we have cost overruns. The tourism piece, I think it's imperative for us when we draw these folks into Knightstown. We're looking at approximately, on the low side, 100 to 150 tourist guests per weekend that the Makers Market is open. When you spread that across the 6 to 7 months that the Makers Market will be open, these are all new folks that we can absolutely grab hold of and promote this tourism, and they can be right there on that phone or on that iPad. Also, with the number of folks that travel up and down US 40 every day, they're going to jump on our free Wi-Fi every time they stop at a stoplight. You do have to be not in fast motion for it to jump on, but every time they jump at a stoplight, we have a chance to put an ad on that phone and create more economic tourism for those existing businesses as well as the new ones in the Makers Market. This is absolutely, positively shovel-ready. It is ready to go. We could actually start putting this up as quick as the town council approved their portion, which could be done at the next town council meeting, I feel. I really believe that. So the impact to the town will be so minimal because of the private contribution we have in it. I don't honestly believe that there would be a chance they wouldn't support this. So especially since we already have one letter of support representing the town from our town council president. Of course, it does need to go to the full board, and I don't know how that vote would turn out. So the last thing I want to say is it self-supporting? It absolutely is, because of the revenue that we can generate off of the Makers Market leases. Each one of the cottages has a lease. You lease that for the entire season. We currently have the cost of maintaining this Wi-Fi, the monthly service, as well as a small capital reserve fund. We're going to rely on donations, I promise, but a small capital reserve fund for the future upkeep of that, because these things, they don't last forever. They're about a 5 to 7 year lifespan, and due to weather, due to exterior exposure, they will start to randomly fail, and there is no fixing them. They're kind of a solid state component. So it's a matter of take it down, put a new one up. They're about $300 a piece. This would actually span the entire Main Street, which would cover all of our retail businesses on the Main Street, as well as through the square. We also already have plans in place to expand this down Washington Street to the kayak launch area, and also plans to expand that all the way up to the Knightstown Academy and the Hoosier Gym, so that this system that we are putting in is expandable and we're not just trapped to this one small area. We can continue to add more of this public Wi-Fi. Our goal, quite honestly, is to cover anywhere that there is a business in Knightstown, if that's 20 blocks off of Main Street or 3 blocks off Main Street. We want to have this free Wi-Fi so that we can get folks walking around town and showing them what we have once they get there. Thank you very much for your time. They were riddling me with possible questions like a debate the other night, so I'm prepped for questions. Yeah, I'm anticipating all the tough. I mean, some of the ones they threw at me, I'm like, nobody's going to ask that.
Thank you, Joe. You talked about expansion, say up to the Hoosier Gym or, to the kayak area. Is that in this present budget, or is that a different phase?
That is phase 2. This is phase 1 that we've applied for. Phase 1 obviously has a lot of initial infrastructure costs that is not repeated when we expand it, because in phase 1 we have allowed for those 2 areas to be added on without having to change the initial infrastructure. Beyond phase 2, We will need to then basically start again with another repeater system, which will be another infrastructure, just like we have here for Phase 1 and Phase 2.
Help me with the management of it.
Yes, sir.
Is there somebody at Knightstown, or is there somebody at the town? Whose responsibility will be to troubleshoot it and help train the businesses? And
Knightstown takes care of the technical service behind it, the IT piece behind it, which is a big advantage with going with Knightstown. They offered that up. The second thing is we, Main Street, would be the ones, and Beautify Knightstown, that would be going out training the businesses how to get onto that, what it is. We would also be doing that through the town council meetings, and we're proposing having a series of 3 public meetings that we would invite anybody from Knightstown to please come, so that we can show them how to access the free Wi-Fi, and they can also, when they have guests in town, then show them how to get onto the free Wi-Fi as well. You're welcome.
I think if you ask 100 people on the street if free Wi-Fi is a good thing, 100 people would say yes. Okay?
Yes.
Can you kind of connect the dots in my mind a little bit, how having free Wi-Fi available in this downtown area connects to economic development and tourism directly?
Absolutely. The free Wi-Fi downtown, as I stated earlier in the presentation, directly impacts the economic development of the local businesses that are there. The existing businesses can now have targeted ads, and anybody that is on that free Wi-Fi that jumps onto it is now going to get those ads directly to their mobile devices. So, I mean, basically it just hones right in on them if they're on that. And if they're on that app, which most people leave Facebook running in the background. So even when they leave our area and go back home, Facebook, those ads are still going to be on their Facebook page because they visited our area. It will also have a direct economic impact because anybody going down US 40 in a car that didn't even stop is now going to get targeted ads to these existing businesses and to the Makers Market. The tourism piece is without free Wi-Fi, folks just don't tend to stick around very long. Like you said, if you ask 100 people, they're going to say yes. It's because it's an expectation. With us, if we can offer that free Wi-Fi, it's another item that we can now market to our Knightstown Makers Market. Come down, spend the weekend, enjoy our free Wi-Fi, enjoy our outdoor seating. It's kind of an amenity that folks expect, and without it, I think they walk away a little disappointed. So I think the Wi-Fi, while it may not draw folks in, it will draw folks back. It will make them want to come back and revisit because they're not going to be sitting there on their Sprint phone going, I can't get very good service. Because in Knightstown, you don't get very good service with Sprint. So it's just one of those items. So I think that's how it directly affects it. I hope I've answered your question. If not, I can elaborate. Thank you, sir.
I just had one question on the you're basing this on your best guess estimate. I know Wi-Fi is a great thing, don't get me wrong on that, but you're basing all this on your best guess estimate, or you have a consulting firm do any studies for this, or just?
Best guess estimate towards the overall cost or towards visitors?
Towards the tourism aspect of it and the economic development of that.
We are modeling it after Muskegon, Michigan, who also has a Knightstown Makers Market. They're kind of our sister city. We went up, they met with us. We've actually made a couple trips back. We have modeled this from our leases to the cottages to everything from Muskegon. And we are tracking it based upon what they saw less 50%. Because we're not as large of a community as Muskegon, so we assumed that we could only hit numbers that were at 50% of what they saw. So it's based upon their historical past. Theirs has been up and running now 5 years, 4 years. 4 years of historical data that they've been sharing with us. They've been actually wonderful. You're welcome, sir.
I'm not, I got one question, but one comment too.
Yes, sir.
It's creepy that you can put advertisements on your phone when you're passing through like that, because I've had it happen to me.
It really does happen.
Yeah, it does. But the other thing is, I also know that that can be hacked if it's not protected.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, people can send you stuff that is not part of Knightstown
Yes.
if it's not protected.
That is correct.
Is there any protection on that?
It runs through the 9-star system, so you'll automatically have that IT firewall for 9-star. We are not doing a private virtual network. We are actually utilizing 9-star to do that.
Right.
That is correct. Because quite honestly, we don't think we're qualified to do that. I want to be honest with you. That needs to be professionally done.
I think this is a really cool project. So what's phase 2 cost?
Phase 2 is going to be approximately about $60,000. Right now, we have $18,000 of that committed for phase 2 for folks that are within the phase 2 zone. I'm sorry, when I say phase 2, to add this additional onto this network, or phase, we call that our addition. You're talking about to add onto this or to do the next phase, which will carry more areas? I'm sorry.
Well, I wasn't very clear. I guess expanding up to the Hoosier Gym and the Knightstown Academy.
About $11,000. Right at about $11,000 to add the additional the base stations that we would need in the electrical outlets.
If I'm a resident in Knightstown, I'm not going to be able to watch my Netflix on this, am I?
No, because the way that it's set up is the signal begins to weaken as you enter a building, so it wouldn't, yes, you're probably still going to be able to detect it's out there, but you wouldn't be able to stream from it. It's not going to be fast enough to do that. It's going to lose its intensity very quickly as you enter buildings.
So the value is to the resident or visitor walking around downtown
Yes,
and with the target ads from the local businesses.
that is correct.
Thank you.
As well as convenience of having it for the tourists that are there. But in addition to that, when we had COVID, who would have ever thought, we had to deploy school buses out in our school system so that folks without Wi-Fi could do their homework. Now, folks can come anywhere and park on Main Street with their kids. They can sit right outside if the weather is conducive, and those kids can get right on there. That is 3 school buses that we don't need to deploy, that now our school superintendent can deploy and cover even more areas of our school corporation and not have to have families and kids drive as far to these key destinations. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
And I want to thank you all for having us here, and I want to thank our board and our 4-H leader that is here with us. This is a 1977 aerial view, and it shows the original arena and barns raised in 1962 on land that was once the county home farm fields. When the county home closed, the Saddle Club was permitted to expand along with the park expansion in the South 90. Page 2. This is an aerial of Henry County Saddle Club taken in 2019. Today there are 13 structures, 7 riding arenas, and over 300 camping and water hookups. The not-for-profit club was formed in 1959 to build a facility for 4-H horse and pony to provide youth who were showing in a rope arena behind the current 4-H barns across the road to have a safe and competitive facility. The original facility made up of 4 barns with tie stalls, an outdoor arena, outhouse, and office was built by 4-H parents and donations with no tax dollars. Barn A and B were built with volunteers, ticket sales, and donations from our customers and members. Today, the structures we built have a value of over $6 million and completed with funds generated from our show activities, member volunteers, and grants. Our average income and budget is $225,000 to $250,000 annually. We spend over $50,000 in annual maintenance and improvements each year. In 2021, nearly all the lighting was replaced with LED fixtures to lower electric costs, and several water line and leaks were repaired. Thanks to a grant from the Henry County Community Foundation, we were able to complete nearly half of those lights because of them. Over $25,000 annually is donated to 4-H horse and pony and services, awards, and facility use at no cost. Henry County Saddle Club took an additional cost of in 2014 of $25,000 annually to free up funds within the Memorial Park budget that included mowing, weed control, trash removal, water lines, and tree maintenance. For our community on page 4, we generate over $4.6 million in direct local economic impact and $9.2 million in economic turnover in the economy due to the tourist activity our organization brings. The new arena and enclosure will add 8 to 12 weeks of tourism year one and of completion, and more thereafter through marketing. Henry County Saddle Club has 0 debt and over $900,000 in assets, which includes sound, equipment, and stalls. Currently, there are 365 available stalls for shows. The grant, if approved, would allow us to avoid the tent rental loss of over $30,000 for our largest show that we have to rent. We provide 4-H week camping and meals, educational activities, and meetings for our community members and 4-H youth. We hire 20 to 30 local contract laborers annual for grounds, stall cleaning, cafe, show management, and judges. Over 500 nights are reserved at Steve Alford Inn just for the show management, not including exhibitor stays. Many weekends are booked full because of our activities along with the racetrack. 4 $500 scholarships are available each year for 4-H horse and pony and Saddle Club youth. We partner and promote local restaurants and businesses to our customers. During the 2020 shutdown, many businesses contact us often, very concerned if and when we would be opening. We also assist many businesses with our tourist information to attract financing and support for new business ventures. Currently, we have 145 days of planned activities in 2022. Page 5, the community advantage of this project, adding an additional 70 by 110-foot arena and enclosing the south and north end of the current Jordan Arena, will allow us to extend our season 3 to 4 months, increasing the local economic impact between $500,000 and $1 million in tourism. 4-H Horse and Pony will have more dates to hold events, start earlier in the season, and hold year-round training. 2022 is one of our largest show seasons in our history, with a wait list of 8 shows that could be scheduled with completion of this project. The project is needed to keep our current shows and enhance our growth, since our competitor in Cloverdale, Indiana, has built a new arena and barn to hold multiple shows. We have an advantage in Newcastle, though, due to our beautiful park, our camping area, and local attractions. But the largest complaint we have is during rain or inclement weather, there's no warm-up and staging area next to the show arena. In this grant, $141,000 will complete the 70 by 110-foot arena with excavation, electrical, install, lighting and fans, sand and ag lime. 41,000 of the 500 the project cost is for the Jordan Arena enclosure of the north and south ends along with guttering. 12,000 will build a restroom inside the newly enclosed arena for exhibitors and spectators so they won't have to go outside to go to the restroom across the facility. 5,600 is for the sound system in the new arena. On the page that we submitted, 16,200 for light panels in the new arena and landscaping shown in the project, but not in the total, will be completed by our members and volunteers. 80,200 will replace the 30 remaining stalls that are over 40 years old in Barn A, completed by our local businesses, our Quality Fabrication of Indiana. The 20% match will be paid with in-kind labor and funds generated from our activities in 2022. Local contractors and vendors will have a priority to complete the project. Page 7 shows a picture of the south end of the arena that would be enclosed with 2 large sliding doors for the main entry for airflow and exhibitor entry. And then to the right, the large sliding door for tractor entry. And then not shown over to the right is the stalls on the east side that would also be enclosed, worth 43 stalls on that side. On page 8 shows a picture of Barn A, where the current 30 stalls are over 30 years old that we would replace. And then we would also set up 65 stalls in that arena with the new arena. It also shows the location of the Jordan Arena where the closure would take place, and then the new arena built on the west side. On the next page, it just shows some of our pictures of shows. We also host the Henry County Sheriff's Camp at no cost. 4-H Week was there with all the kids with the 4-H shirts provided by the Saddle Club, and just a beautiful picture of our facility and to give you some idea of what we do. We also have an active website, www.hcsaddleclub.com, that shows all of our events, and our exhibitors can go on and get show information. And that's all I have.
I have a question. You talked about the enhancement or would add at least 8 new shows, and it's pretty clear that would help the Saddle Club. How does that help the rest of the community when you add that number of shows and the economic impact of this expansion?
Well, those 8 shows would put 56 nights in Steve Alford Inn and bring business for our local restaurants and grocery stores, gas, locally. Those 8 shows are on hold right now because we have no dates, because we don't go beyond our current schedule because it's too wet and too cold usually.
Yeah. Spectators that aren't Saddle Club people, are they allowed to come and just watch? And if so, do you have a lot of people come in just to observe?
Yeah, we. I don't think it shows here. Maybe a little bit, but on the west side of the outdoor arena, there's a lot of times that it's full of cars. We have a lot of people that come from Walnut Ridge in the morning to have breakfast with us. We've kind of become that place to go for them when they're visiting in Henry County, so they come and sit and have breakfast at our cafe, which is full service. We do close for the evening, though, so that our exhibitors will go out to the community. We could run a full-service cafe with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but we choose not to so that we can advertise for our local restaurants.
So when we did our tourism study a couple years ago, it was very clear the positive economic impact that the Saddle Club brings to our community. Talk to me a little bit about the competitive nature of hosting shows. It sounds like it's pretty stiff, and so that if the expansions and the improvements, whether it's funded by Food and Beverage or not, but if that doesn't occur, we're at risk of losing that activity.
Well, because of Cloverdale, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Cloverdale, Indiana. They have a very large indoor facility with 500 stalls, all under roof. The disadvantage of Cloverdale versus us, which we keep our exhibitors here, is that it is on large stone, So people have to walk across Lashbrook from their RVs and their campers to get inside the arena. They have to take their horses across that large stone to get there. But they went out on a large limb to get a lot of the COVID money, and they have installed solar panels, so their electric bill went from $500,000 a year to $500 a month. So they've made a lot of advantage, and that also gave them the ability to build a smaller arena so that they can run now a smaller show with 100 stalls and a large show with 500 stalls simultaneously. So they did, but I still think the people that show at our facility love the park. They love the camping. It's entirely a grassy area out there, but they park and camp on the grassy area. And especially during our large show, there's about 1,500 to 2,000 people there a day. And a lot of it's because people, when they come to that show, since it's 7 to 10 days long, they bring their entire family to have a family reunion and visit with one another and rent the shelters and have family events.
The question I've got surrounds the match. You indicate in your proposal that 6% of the budget is going to be in-kind work performed by members of the Saddle Club. That leaves about $38,000 that you indicate the club is going to absorb. Is this a budgeted item in the club's annual operating expense if you get this grant?
Yes, we spend around $50,000 in improvements every single year. So last year we did a huge amount of improvements, replacing all of the camping lights, 37 night lights with LEDs, and then all the arenas got new lights in it because they had the old can HID lights. So we spend that much every year on doing some major projects. We built a new photo shoot area last year. So this year, we'll have to cut a little bit. We'll have to trim a little bit with some more volunteer labor. But I see no problem in us handling that. We had a large grant that we did during the last Food and Beverage, and the Saddle Club matched it with all cash with hardly any in-kind.
Okay. Questions?
First of all, I'd like to thank you for your presentation. It's very detailed. Appreciate that. Just had one quick question, ballpark figure. Do you have any idea of the number of participants you have a year in that? I mean, it's been going on for several years. Do you have an idea?
Yeah, we, if you look at it, I mean, Corey and I have spent a lot of time talking about this with the EDC. AQHA, we do go by their standards because they do a lot of research, and they're the largest and oldest organization in the United States. So it has been lowered a little bit, and that's the reason why we're about 8,000 to 9,000 people a year. But they're here 80 days. They're not going home. They're here 80 days. They come in on Thursday night, and they come in on Friday night, and they show Saturday and Sunday. So every show that's a Saturday and Sunday show is 3 to 4 days of every weekend of putting visitors in Henry County.
Do you notice a continued growing enthusiasm for the Saddle Park? I mean, or is it something that's kind of leveled off in the last few years, or do you see it continuing to?
No, I actually see in Corey's, I see it more competitive. I have to work really hard with calling different organizations to try to bring in more shows because there's so many new facilities in Ohio and Indiana and Kentucky. There's just a lot. I will tell you that Henry County Saddle Club, there is no, and you can talk to Nancy, there is no other place in this whole area in the Midwest that I've ever seen like Henry County Saddle Club.
I finally got the 2-minute warning. Where do the participants and the visitors come from? Is it just Indiana, or is it from other states?
All over the United States and Canada.
And then finally, talk about shovel ready. You know, if you were awarded, how quickly could you move dirt?
As quick as that ground will let us move it. And before the prices continue to keep rising. And that's my biggest fear with this grant, is the inflation. But I did want to answer a question the board spent a lot of time talking about. If you didn't give us all, what's our biggest wants? And our biggest wants is to build that arena and close it, because that's automatically going to keep our exhibitors happy that they can get under roof and out of the weather, and we can close it up for inclement weather and show longer. I mean, there's sometimes I've seen it in June when we had the large horse show, when it dropped down to 45 degrees and stormed and it was cold. So that is our biggest want, is to enclose that arena and build it on the side.
Okay, well, we're way ahead of schedule, so we're going to take a few minutes break. Everybody get a chance to go to the restroom and grab something to drink, and we'll get started here in a few minutes.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
All right, if there's no objection, we're going to start about 2 minutes early. Mayor York, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. You'll have 10 minutes, 5-minute warning, and a 2-minute warning,
Okay,
and then 10 minutes for questions.
okay. Appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you this evening. This is about Newcastle, Henry County Sports and Wellness Recreation Center. It consists of 7 outdoor baseball diamonds, 5 indoor basketball courts that will be city-owned. They're set on 30 acres. It'll bring over 100,000 people to town each year, year-round. This will consist of softball, baseball, football, soccer, volleyball, basketball, wrestling. This is not fun for me to say, but the girls' high school volleyball team considers our field house a volleyball stadium, not a basketball stadium. And we can't even host volleyball tournaments in Newcastle. I mean, it doesn't matter what sport I just mentioned. We don't have the capacity to host tournaments here. We're driving hundreds of thousands of dollars out of Henry County every weekend for some sport every weekend. So this is not a recreation of the wheel. This is recognizing what we lack, concern to other communities that we compete with at every level. So I just wanted to bring this to the food and beverage. Number one, this will feed the food and beverage income all year round. I don't want this to interfere with Little League baseball, Little League basketball, football. We want to maintain all the facilities that we have now. This is for tournaments for the weekend. If any team from the county wanted to put on a tournament, they're more than welcome to use this facility. When our kids go to tournaments, they play on anywhere from 8 courts to 7 diamonds to 12 diamonds. So they travel. They're not all at the exact same position. They travel. We want them coming to this location. This location happens to be on 300 South. Easy instructions off Interstate 70. Get off 70, come into Newcastle, you come to the stoplight at Walmart, turn right 1 mile, you can't miss the facility. So it sits on 30 acres, and there's plenty of room there for us to expand. Page 2 is just kind of a layout, and it's the poster that I left for you there. The intent of this is there'll be 4 Little League diamonds or 4 girls softball diamonds. One of them will be all turf, not a speck of dirt on it anywhere. One of the high school diamonds will be all turf. That gives us the opportunity to play no matter, unless it's lightning. I mean, you can play during the rain and you don't have to go to the dugouts for timeouts for a rain delay. Literally, there will be $1 million in the ground of infrastructure before the whole facility is built. We have built a lot of diamonds that didn't have the opportunity to put infrastructure in, but this will be an opportunity for us to put correct infrastructure in before we start. The third page is the layout of the courts. There'll be at least 5 courts. And the exciting thing about this project is in going to Pendleton, going to New Palestine, going to Indianapolis, and looking at other facilities, there is an opportunity for us to have multiple courts, but we have partnered up with a medical entity that at New Pal, they have a physical therapy, plus they have dermatologists. At Pendleton, they have mental health and physical therapy office. There will be, literally will be medical offices in this that will help make this self-supporting. So there'll be at least 5 basketball courts, but in that first picture, and then go to the next page, It may change because the medical entity that we're talking to in that first picture, all we could get was about 8,000 square feet. They feel like they need about 10,000 square feet. So this layout would entertain up to 10,000 square feet. The next page is literally income that the retail, there'd be inside this facility, there'd be a store, coffee shop, 2 to 4 medical facilities, a personal trainer, cheerleading practice area, and 2 party areas, which one of them would be trampolines and the other one would be an obstacle course that my grandkids have already been to out of town 3 times, and we've rented one in Pendleton for my grandkids to have their birthday party in April. So, I mean, we're not only driving sports out of town every weekend, we're literally driving party rooms out of town every weekend. The next page is our form of our management team. Second is the land and raising funds. And I would say that we're in the middle of 3 and 4 site development and layout drainage. This is going to happen whether we get food and beverage money or not. Food and beverage money would be extremely blessing for this whole project, but it's exactly where we're at. We have engineering fees that have state-approved plans, the infrastructure and the land. It has a breakdown of what that'll cost each diamond, each basketball court, full-time office spaces. So this is a $16.5 million project. I'm asking for $300,000 over a 5-year period of time. I would love to have $1.5 million all at once. Don't want to be greedy. We can spread this out and turn this into a project. But we literally do intend for this project to start this May. The next page is just simply a breakdown of softball, baseball, Babe Ruth, Little League, soccer, volleyball, basketball, wrestling tournaments that could be had that would bring in a revenue of $1.5 million a year. And it's hard to explain. Knightstown, this past year, my grandson's in 2nd grade. They had 6 teams over a 3-day tournament, and there was no entry fee. But Grandma and Grandpa paid $10 Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so $60 just from our car. You know, they made over $3,000 in that weekend with just 6 teams. So I mean, sports is a big business. Today, it's all about travel ball. Sports is a big business. So then I get to the end, and on the very back page is a letter that the people from Pendleton sent, and it literally says that they hope that we have a facility in Newcastle, that it is not only an economic development driver for us, but it also is a community builder like it's been for them. So it's just the letter in the back is just a shout out from somebody that has already done this, that's smaller than us, that's been very successful at it. So this project, it meets all criteria. It will feed the infrastructure for South Henry. It will create housing on 103, and it will bring people from over an hour away on a regular basis. There could be something scheduled here every weekend. So I hope everybody is enthused about this as I am. Yeah, I'm a sports nut, sports fanatic, but like I said, this isn't recreating the wheel. We're probably 10 to 14 years behind in this area, not something brand new. We're way behind. And this would be an opportunity for every team in the county to participate in this facility. Any questions?
So you just said this has been in the works for a while, and I was just wondering about the studies you've done, because there's a lot of impressive numbers, and just where did that come from?
Other communities, and myself counting how many people we take out of town on weekends to tournaments.
Hello, my question is, how will this, I see that since it's going to be a multi-sports facility, which is great, How will this affect the other facilities, like I said, and I heard that it would only be for weekend tournaments, but how will it affect the other, like, I know that the YMCA, for instance, has youth teams, that I know that they kind of count on for things like that, and I see that Babe Ruth is on there. I was just wondering how is there a plan to work with them, or is it a plan to, I just wanted to know.
Most definitely. I don't want to speak for Babe Ruth, but they had a tournament this year and had 5 states represented, and we had 1 diamond for them to play on. They could have went to numerous other communities and had multiple diamonds to play on. We don't want to interfere with any diamonds that we have. We want to maintain every diamond that we have. If we have 4 Little League diamonds here, presently we have 2 in town. All of a sudden, that weekend tournament, we have 6 diamonds that we can play on, not just 4, not just 2. So, I mean, we want them to travel around. We want them to move through Newcastle. So this will enhance each of our leagues, Little League Baseball, Babe Ruth, girls softball. Thank you.
Again, just to clarify, you do have the 20% ready to go
Mm-hmm.
for the project. That's all been
Yes.
secured, and you would consider it shovel-ready and ready to go if you get the funding.
Just as soon as the ground breaks, we're going to start infrastructure on the drainage. Yes.
And exactly where is this located?
Do you know where Mr. Farley lives?
Mm-hmm.
You know where his white barn is?
Yep.
Next road, straight across, straight
Yep, so
north of that.
300.
Not on the
I see
corner
that
of
map.
103, but it's in the corner more by Broyles Plumbing, but literally straight across the street from Farley's barn.
And is that land secured, or is it secured based on?
Based on financing, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I just got a couple of questions. Do you have a projection for what the debt service is going to be on the bonds that you have to float to?
There will be no bonds. There will be no borrowed money. It's all going to be donated and in-kind labor.
$13 million worth?
No, $16 million worth, unless you
yes,
give us
yes.
1.5.
Okay. And my other question is, you've given us an annual revenue projection. Do you have the other side of that equation? What do your expenses look like?
Well, yeah, that was the page right before it of what it's going to cost. Did I miss that page? It's this page of what it would cost to build each facility.
Yeah, that's the cost to build the facility. I'm talking about the annual operating budget.
Well, that depends on how much Duke Energy donates to put solar panels out there, so there'll be no electric bill. I mean, this has already been, when I became mayor 11 years ago, this was the number 1 thing on my priority list. Well, what's the date today? What year? Had fixed me other things just now getting time to get around to it.
Maybe this might be a silly question, but what kind of public support, what kind of feedback have you got so far?
I could have filled half of the field house. Every parent that drives out of town every weekend that never gets to participate in a tournament here locally, one of the treasurer on the Little League looks at, when I showed her this plan, she looks at me and she says, well, this is 12 years behind. Where you been? So extreme good support, public support on this.
Mayor, if I look at the poster board, I mean, is there a phased approach on construction? I mean, what will you start with?
I was going to start with baseball diamonds since it was coming up first, but since we've had medical facility want to get involved, we would start with the medical and the basketball courts. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
May we approach the bench? Okay, sorry, didn't mean to. I do not at this time. Had all of the members received our proposal previously? Okay, okay. Yes. Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, Corey's ready. So, again, we're 5 minutes ahead of time, but we'll go ahead and get started. You'll have 10 minutes. She'll give you a 5-minute warning and a 2-minute warning. And then after that, we'll have 10 minutes worth of questioning.
Will this be adequate? Okay. Thank you very much for your time. For those of you who I do not know, I'm Chris Bay. I've been the executive director here at the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame for the past 13 plus years. I am joined this evening by the president of our board of directors, Mr. Mark Baltz. He resides in Zionsville and has made it a priority to be with us tonight. Also behind me are members of our full-time staff. Kayla Kessler is our assistant director, and Tripp Lukemeyer is our development director. This is a very important project to our organization, and we wanted to show that with our representation here tonight. Mark represents a board that has members from Evansville to Southaven and every spot in between who have been a big part of what we're laying forth and asking for in this project. As Mark is specifically going to speak to, this project and this request is 5 years in the making. For those of you who've been in business, in sports, you know there's a game plan. And for our organization, 5 years ago, it started with a long-term planning committee. Mark will get into other details, but it became quite obvious to our organization and to outside consultants and observers that the space that we have occupied on Trojan Lane had been maximized, and at some point there was going to come a time that we needed to expand. And Mark will talk a little bit more organizationally about how that came about and what we've done in the last 5 years. The history here and the history specifically with our organization in that building and the food and beverage tax goes back to the beginning of it all. It's been a long-standing community project and support that birthed the Hall of Fame coming to Newcastle. Obviously, the food and beverage tax dollars were initially paid for the structure that we occupy and that we've operated for 31 plus years. The numbers speak for themselves in those 31 years of over 320,000 visitors from literally worldwide, all 50 states, 64 countries from around the world. Whether we like sports or don't, anywhere you go, especially in Indiana, if you mention Newcastle, if you mention Henry County, basketball is certainly a part of that conversation. We've been blessed with community support. One of the criteria and one of your scoring metrics is the community support and the evidence for it, not just in the fact that we've been here for 31 years. Our organization, our museum runs on volunteer support, and those are 90-some% Henry County residents. I would also say that many of our volunteers are not basketball fans. Many of our volunteers, I'll call them sweet little old ladies, do that and sit at our front desk out of pride that the Hall of Fame is in Newcastle and is in Henry County, their backyard. And they couldn't tell you who the leading scorer was or who the most famous player was, but they have been a part of our organization and felt that pride in being based here. I also want to address the X factor that your committee has put forth as a criteria. Again, mention Newcastle, mention Henry County. Basketball is sure to come out of so many folks' mouths. And as well, obviously, the recent developments in the tourism committee and the destination development, basketball lives here is the motto and is the marketing phrase. And incorporating a few other facilities, we're proud to be a big part of that and a reason folks are coming to Henry County. As far as whether this project supports tourism, I've spoken to the numbers that we have already generated by way of visitors and where they've come from. Hopefully you're familiar with the number of events we host throughout the year. Our Hall of Fame Classic just occurred at the end of December, which brings folks from all over the state. We have induction ceremonies that'll bring folks over the state. And the proposal, the concept of this expansion is really technologically driven, because my worn out line is kids these days, and even now adults as we've become addicted to these things, are technology driven, and jerseys and trophies in a glass case don't move the needle, don't get folks as excited, especially the younger crowd. And the premise behind this expansion is more interactive, more digital, all of those sorts of things to bring the history of basketball to life. Obviously, also an expansion project for us would bring increased advertising, increased marketing. Obviously, if we build a place, we want folks to come. And again, that would come from Hall of Fame funds and Hall of Fame operations. We are essentially, through this request, asking you to help us build the building, the if you build it, they will come philosophy. We need help getting a structure, the Hall of Fame, with funds that our board has already committed and will continue to raise. We'll get all the whiz-bang cool things that people want to come and see and experience. Another of your criteria is if the project supports economic development. And we feel like, obviously, everyone probably sees us as a bit of a tourist attraction, but also in the way of economic development, we've tried to be partners with as many different organizations, corporations, entities in the community, whether that's hosting events with the EDC. I believe Mr. Murphy could speak to this. But I believe a key meeting before board said landed was with some suits from Florida who flew up, and that meeting took place in our building. We've worked with other local businesses, nonprofits, everything from birthday parties and Boy Scout troop gatherings to corporate outings and group tours are what we have hosted in our building. Very, very important part of what we're asking and what this expansion would do is an even larger space, open for meeting settings, a kitchenette area, restrooms, easily accommodating even larger size gatherings than what we can currently accommodate. As I mentioned, Mark is going to speak a lot to our organization, our board, our commitment, and what's gotten us to this point.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for allowing us to be here this evening and make our presentation. As Chris said, I'm currently serving as president of the board of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame and the executive committee, which basically is responsible for these three people plus Cheryl in the office. We kind of oversee everything. I've come up through the ranks. I tell the story, I'm not from Indiana, and this place to me is a Taj Mahal, and I fell in love with it about 15 or 20 years ago after relocating here from Ohio. My background is sports officiating. So I offer a little unique touch to the Hall of Fame, which they haven't had in the past. But getting back to the point, it's just an honor to be a part of this and to be able to work with these people and be a part of this, what I refer to as the Taj Mahal, which we have here in Henry County, which not only draws people in, but as Chris just mentioned, we have a lot of ways to give back to Newcastle, Henry County, and the East Central Indiana community, as well as statewide. One of your scoring guide points here is there a plan in place for the 20% required match? That's kind of where our board comes in. And to answer that question, most definitely, and that would be a bare minimum. As Chris mentioned, we started at least 5 years ago, back when I was coming up through the ranks as an associate board member and board member. We began a long-range planning setup. We have a long-range planning committee, which very actively pursued a lot of different avenues over the last few years. We have the funds in place, like I said, at a bare minimum to match whatever you're able to give to us. We've done feasibility studies. Our most recent hire of Tripp as our Director of Business Development, or of development period overall, helps bring this to fruition. He's been on board since last summer and doing a great job. So we're heading in the right direction there. Will the completed project be self-supporting? Well, we've always been self-supporting through our memberships, our donations, our fundraisers, such as our golf outings and the classic that we have here every year at Christmas time. Is the project forward-looking? Yes, we're looking to drastically modernize and digitize and do some things that, like I said to Chris a little while ago, we want to keep our moth-eaten leather sweaters from 100 years ago on display, but a lot of our patrons now are kids that want all the bells and whistles and the toys, and we'd like to incorporate all of that into our facility as well. And you could tell by the study that was handed to you before we got here, is the project shovel-ready? Yes, we've been planning on this for a long time. The plans are in place. We're already talking with Studio 127, Section 127, a division of Sport Graphics out of Indianapolis. I told Frank Hancock about 4 months ago, we don't want to put the brackets of the NCAA tournament on the side of the building here in Newcastle, but lend your expertise at decorating another. And he's just thrilled to death, he said, to add the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame to his trophy case of projects. So we've got a lot of other developers that we're working with as well.
We know this is no small ask. Again, I just want to reiterate, obviously, this is not a, hey, there's some dollars out there, let's go see if we can get them. We've been working on this plan for 5 years. We've positioned ourselves through fundraising, through the addition of staff. This, for 5 years, has been my job. How do we get to this point? Now we're trying to get there and can do so with your help.
Okay, I have a question. Certainly for 31 years, it's been an impressive project, and it's one of the greatest parts about Henry County and Newcastle to have that here. But with the expansion in reference to tourism and economic development, you have a certain number of people probably, that come there every year. What does this expansion do on increasing the economic benefit and the tourism over what you already have and have had for 31 years?
I think something to consider is that we have folks who have been to our museum time and time again. Obviously, anytime you have something new to show them, especially with what we're talking about, if you get into the technology and the really cool elements, this has the capability of not only drawing in new people, and those may be people who have moved in from out of state and didn't know we've existed, or they've only been in the state for a few years, to folks who've been here a handful or 10 times before, is you've got a whole new reason, new things to show them, new reasons to get them excited. We have grown our annual membership program. These are folks who are interested in supporting the Hall of Fame. Those numbers have grown exponentially. So we have clearly people who are interested in the Hall of Fame, in what we have to offer, and want to come see it. The newness aspect will be a big part of it, but I also don't think that will fade away, because as we've talked about, with the space that it would provide, the opportunity for us, Tripp's job title is Development Director, and part of that is to raise the money to put us in a position to do these sorts of things. But then a focus of that job becomes member engagement. That allows us to bring some of our inductees back, and we have a space where we can bring really big-name people in to give a speech or have an autograph signing, those types of events that bring more and more people, folks who have been in this community and have been at the Hall of Fame before, to folks who may live 3, 4, 5 hours away, but they've seen, heard something is new and want to come check it out.
So the Henry County Historical Society does a post on Facebook, and it's a look back, right? And so one of their most recent, this day in history, was recounting the what I'll call the site selection competition that the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame was located in downtown Indianapolis, and they put out a call to communities. So this is in the mid-1980s, and so Newcastle put a package together to attract your organization to build your facility here. And as a part of that, the Food and Beverage Tax was born. Have you received any food and beverage tax since the initial gift from the community?
As I mentioned, I've been here 13-plus years. We did receive some dollars, I believe, 4 or 5 years ago. It was a partnership between the Hoosier Gym and ourselves. It was a billboard marketing campaign. I don't recall the exact dollar amount. It was nowhere near what we're talking about now. I would also throw in, for historical reference, it's a fascinating story that I've gotten to come up to speed on with some of the folks who were involved and unfortunately no longer with us. As I made reference in the presentation, the land was donated by a Mariana bank. The food and beverage tax, there was a lot of work that went into getting the state legislature to allow this to come to fruition. Pardon me if I'm being redundant with your knowledge of it, but that food and beverage tax was then placed forward for bonding to build the structure that we occupy. And the projections of those food and beverage tax revenues, the bonds were paid off in 50% of the time that they projected that they were going to be paid off. But to get back to the answer of your question, we did receive some funding that we shared with the Hoosier Gym on a billboard campaign about 5 years ago.
Thank you. And then a follow-up question on the match. And so it's a $5 million project, a $3 million request from food and beverage, and the rest is it already cash on hand, or is it a portion of cash on hand and then Tripp's going to get busy?
I have to watch what I say because Mark may fire me on the spot. But again, I've referenced the 5 years, the 5 years, the 5 years. About 4 years ago in this process, our board voted. We have at least $1 million. We are definitely in at $1 million. Let's see what else we can round up. Our assets and contributions have grown since then. We have on record that we have $1 million, which are on hand towards this project. With growth of assets, with all due respect to the president, I would sit here and tell you I believe that the Hall of Fame has $2 million at least on hand for this project. And I would also say the $5 million that we've designated in the proposal is a realistic number, but if Tripp's really good at his job, you can spend endless amounts of dollars on technology. We're a part of an association of sports museums and sports Hall of Fames from all over the world. Every year I go to a conference. A couple of years ago, I sat across the table from the guy who runs the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, who had a $700 million renovation project ongoing. We're nowhere on that scale, but you can spend and you can come up with some amazing things. Those are all dollars that the Hall of Fame will continue to raise and add to those elements.
There's no question that the Hall of Fame's a beautiful thing to have in the community, and it does draw a lot of visitors. It would be unfair to judge any organization like yours based on 2020 and 2021 results. What did your attendance figures look like the last 5 years before that, and what kind of trajectory was it on?
They've held steady. I'd love to tell you that they had grown and grown and grown. Our attendance had held steady. Part of that is due to demographics of our membership, our inductees, our board members. That's another issue that's in the long-range planning. Again, every year that went by, kids, truthfully, are less and less interested in staring at that jersey and knowing who that player was. I'd love for that not to be the case, but that is absolutely the truth of the matter. And getting kids, we have numerous basketball teams. We have baseball teams that are here in the summer that have come through. We've attracted groups of kids, but to really hit that sweet spot, to get more people involved, you've got to do something like what we're talking about technologically, and those things are not cheap. But to answer your question, we had been remaining steady.
Pretty flat
on our annual attendance in the museum side of things.
What if you were to quantify this, when this project is completed, what effect would you expect that to have on additional attendance over and above these historical numbers?
As I mentioned, the newness is always going to draw more attention, and you expect it's going to draw additional attendance. Newness wears off at some point, but we wouldn't want to go through with a project like this and not market, advertise, and promote the heck out of something like this. Those are, again, more dollars. When we talk about, is this a $5 million project? At least. And then, not to brag, but we have donors that are all over the country and of prominence, significance, and wealth, truthfully, that if somebody really got behind this and said, this is great, we need to do more marketing, we need to do more advertising. That's another piece of what Tripp and I do and help spread the word. He's going to hate me tomorrow, by the way, I'm sorry. But again, that's part of a bigger picture operation. Market, 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 and I'm not just talking about billboards. It's digital these days. You've got to do online items to promote and get people interested.
He may already hate you. I mean, you may not wait till tomorrow. No, seriously. Okay, thank you.
Chris, I know Hall of Fame puts out a publication. Have you noticed your membership? Has it increased the last several years? I know.
Significantly.
Okay.
And that's, again, been another initiative, another day in, day out priority. Getting more people involved, to be honest, getting younger people involved. These are folks that, as you know, that may just be fans and want to help support the cause. These are some folks who come to the museum once, twice, 3 times a year. These are folks who have varying levels of interest and involvement. Our membership numbers have drastically grown and increased in recent years.
And I don't want to drag this out, but you have different levels of membership. Are those also increasing? Do you notice an increase in the level of the membership, or is it just kind of stagnant at the bottom, and then
we have some people who wish to kind of remain behind the scenes but have really helped us in recent years. That's growth at all levels. In fact, we've initiated a new lower level. Mark, as an official, we've created an active high school referees level, which is less than the full price admission or the full price support. But those levels all across the board have been growing.
Just a quick statement. 20 years ago, when smart boards came out, I used your facility along with the public library to demonstrate, and we had a full house at that time at the Basketball Hall of Fame at the library because it was new technology and it incited teachers as well as instructors to come and listen to the presentation in a different way. And that was 20 years ago. We worked with the high school. I worked at Chrysler at the time. And it was a big hit. The Basketball Hall of Fame was a big hit even back then. And I appreciate what you guys have done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've got a quick question that I meant to ask before, but you essentially said this project's ready to go. Is that?
If we were to get the funding that we're requesting of you right here, right now.
If you got a check for $3 million, you're ready to.
The building occurs, and then the technology follows. Right. But as we said, we have dollars, and we feel significant dollars in hand, ready to deploy for some of these purposes.
In your grant application, it said your timeline was 1 to 2 years, so I want to make sure which it is.
If we get this grant at the amount requested, that starts building immediately.
Okay.
The back end of that 1 to 2 years will be on the technology, the exhibit, those elements.
Maybe an unfair question, but
I expect nothing less of you.
We focus on visitation, and I think that's important to focus on visitation, but do you have any guess on earned media? In other words, media that none of us have enough money to buy, but people write about Newcastle and Henry County because of the Hall of Fame, or people come to Newcastle and Henry County because of the Hall of Fame. And I'll give you an example, and it's not necessarily with the Hall of Fame, but it was with a similar facility in our county called the Hoosier Gym. And during the college football championship, there was a live broadcast on CBS 46 in Atlanta. It was a 2-minute spot. We don't have enough money to buy that. So that's the example of earned media.
That same day, an anchor from CBS 46 in Atlanta did a feature at our facility. He's originally a Hoosier, and he said the college football world is focused on Indiana right now, but Indiana's a really big basketball state, and here's the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. And I think I could go, I could give you example after example after example. One other thing that I would be remiss if I didn't mention is that, sure, we are awfully proud of the facility we have and the organization we have, and we're awfully proud that's here in Henry County. We have heard time and time again from museum visitors, Kayla can back me up on this, folks who are not even necessarily Hoosiers, who have no fight in the game, who tell us all the time, we've been to Springfield, Massachusetts, which is the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, the worldwide basketball Hall of Fame. We've been to Springfield. We like what you have here in Newcastle better than that facility. And pardon me if that sounds like we're breaking our elbow, patting ourselves on the back. That's the kind of place we have here. And yes, I'm not smart enough to know the value of all the earned media that you reference, but it happens.
And I'm not firing either one of them, and we're off and running. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is the Henry County 200 with Scott Frost. Again, in case you weren't here, you'll have 10 minutes, a 5-minute warning, a 2-minute warning, and then 10 minutes of question.
All right, we are ready. We are Henry County 200. We are a nonprofit 501c3. We formed about a year and a half ago with the intent, our mission is to celebrate all year long, all this year long, about, kiss me a little closer. Okay. There you go. The Henry County Bicentennial, which Henry County was actually formed June 1st, 1822. My name is Scott Frost. I'm on the organizing committee, and we thought it was important to bring our entire organizing committee here at once. We have Carrie Barrett, Kay Ford, Everett Cole, Vicki Bertram, and the person you're going to hear from next is Ricky Cotman. He wrote a very special song about Henry County 200, and we thought it was appropriate because our intent is to have fun and entertain people all year long. So you're on.
Let's celebrate 1822. Was 1822 when Henry County joined our state. Those pioneers couldn't have imagined much beyond that date. But 200 years later, what a surprise it came to be. The whole county had flourished like you wouldn't believe. So let's celebrate 2022 like no other year. Yes, for you and me too. We got a school educational outreach and a magical history tour, a basketball knockout tournament, and a passport historical tour. We'll have the opening of the time capsule and a county worship for all. There'll be food and music and games and a Henry County golf best ball, an old-fashioned ice cream social and a beard contest too. Yes, for you and me too. Historical murals to paint and a croquet tournament as well. A Juneteenth celebration and a community dinner will be swell. And when we're all through celebrating and have made money for educating, we'll bury the 22 capsule with new stories of participation. So let's celebrate 2022 like no other year. Yes, for you and me too.
Thank you, Ricky. That was, if you paid attention, a lot of the things that he mentioned in that are things we're going for, or events we have planned. Briefly go through quickly our 3 goals are to celebrate Henry County history. We plan to do that to spread all throughout the county. We want everyone involved. Some of our reach out programs are an educational reach out where we went to each school and set up something for they can promote the county and understand the history. We're having a torch run that's going to go through all 13 townships. We're going to have a Henry County passport that gets people to go around all the sites in the county. We're going to encourage all the townships to have a float in the Memorial Day Parade. The second thing we're trying to do is to stimulate tourism in the county. To do that, we're going to have a world record attempt at a donut eating contest, a donut hole eating contest. We're going to have a bicentennial golf outing that we think will attract people, a Baker Park Hoopla Festival where we use everything in the park to, sporting-wise, to have fun and participate. And our big thing at the end of June is our main month, is to attempt a world record of knockout basketball, which is basically a free throw contest. We're trying to beat a record that's held by the Dallas Mavericks. Our third thing we're trying to do is, our last attempt is to give back to the future. And in that extent is a 529 program, and Carrie's going to tell you about that.
So we have been raising money for our celebration as well as to use for a 529 program at the end of this. It will be our legacy program. So a 529 program is a savings program for education or vocational after high school. So our plan is that we will pick a cohort in the county for all 5 county school systems and have $25 for each child in that cohort. We have had talks with the foundation, and we will plan to work with them at the end of this when we have some, hopefully, excess funding to put into that. And that will be something that we will have to fundraise on a yearly basis, but it's for 500 children. It will be in the cohort, so $25, it ends up to be about $13,000 a year, and we think it's a really great economic tool that Corey could have when he tries to attract folks.
You're listening to the Bicentennial Committee. How many of you recognize Sesquicentennial? Where were you in 1972? Yeah, there you go. I had been in town about 9 months. I grew a beard. I grew a handlebar mustache for the contest back then. I had a daughter in June 27th of 1972. So we're back again in 50 years. A lot of you look kind of puzzled how old I am and why was I around at that time. We've come a long way. We've been planning for a couple years. We've gained quite a bit of momentum of what we're doing because a couple of our people on our committee was on a committee studying the branding of the county. The county is branded, basketball lives here. You ought to know that. We have a marketing committee. We've got Whole Heart Communications. We've got a 6 or 8 page marketing plan that has been put together for us that we're working through. That'll all happen in the next, it started several months ago and it'll all happen in the next 4 or 5 months. The knockout tournament at the field house. The Pacer Fever organization has partnered with us to be here. We will be at several of their functions over at their ball games, and they are partnering with us for the hoopla and the knockout. Hoopla will be in the field house in the Baker Park area. We're going to continue that every year, not the knockout, but the hoopla. And we hope to, we're talking about maybe changing it to earlier Memorial Day or maybe 4th of July. We want as big a crowd as possible. In any place, any organization where you've been to be successful, you got to plan your work your plan, or your plan don't work. And we've been working at our plan. We will, it's all our intentions to celebrate success this June. We would like your help in our effort, and good luck to us and good luck to you folks. You've got a huge job ahead of you here. Thank you.
Okay, I know you've heard about some of the events. Vicki and I have a more complete list. We have a variety of events planned with volunteers from all 13 townships pitching in to help. We are still working with the township trustees to add more localized events. These include the Magical History Tour at the Newcastle Henry County Public Library, which is already underway with talks about Henry County genealogy, Black history, women's history, Robert, Indiana, Catherine Winters, church history, Wilbur Wright's birthplace, the Indiana High School Basketball Hall of Fame, Maxwell Chrysler history, and more, a world record donut hole eating contest, floats in the Memorial Day Parade, a beard contest a la 1972, a township-wide torch run, the 1972 time capsule opening and the 2022 time capsule closing, a county-wide worship service, the Henry County Passport, murals around Henry County, and We Love Henry County Education Outreach.
In addition, we will have a Bicentennial Exhibit at the Art Association by local artists reflecting the history of Henry County. There will be a golf outing, an ice cream social on the historic museum lawn. We will have Tuesday Talkies. These will be movies that reflect Henry County history, including Hoosiers and Harriet and the Catherine Winters story and Rosie's Rescue, as well as Raintree County. We'll have events at Memorial Park, Knightstown Kids Fishing Derby, and to cap off this epic celebration, the one, the only, the Hoopla Festival at Baker Park on June 25th, along with a world record attempt to get in the Guinness World Book of Records for basketball knockout tournament.
Do we use all our time? Do we use this full 10 minutes? All right.
We were entertaining, though.
Yeah.
The expenses, the amount, I'm just trying to figure out what you need exactly and for. Can you explain what the money will be for?
Yeah. So our marketing plan will cost roughly $25,000. So the megaphone to tell people what's going on. We have fundraised quite a bit, but we need to tell people what's happening. Obviously, we have a lot going on. And then the 529, we're asking for $25,000 to get that program started and set it up for success for the following year.
Yeah, the intent with the marketing is billboards, newspapers, radio. We plan to go as far as Fort Wayne, Indianapolis. We think the knockout tournament and the festival involved can attract a lot of tourism and a lot of people in not only participating. It's going to take 750, 800 people participating. We can imagine them bringing their families and then the entire event at the Baker Park.
Yeah, I see here, I'm just trying to make sure I've got the math right. On your match portion, it says county council 15,000, city council 15,000, corporate fundraising 75,000. Is this cash on hand? Is this firm pledges? Is this hopes? What is it?
We have a considerable amount of money on hand. We have a very good sponsor in the hospital has given us a large sum of money. Duke Energy, Citizen State Bank, those are our bigger corporate sponsors. And we've also went out to organizations like City Council, the Tourism Commission, the EDC. They've also given us money. So we have a good start on money because one of the big expenses is Guinness does take a large chunk of money to use their name and to certify and to send someone here to be a part of that knockout tournament. So that is a big expense.
Sure. So what is the amount of the match that you actually have on hand?
At the present time, our bank account has somewhere in the neighborhood of 55,000.
Okay. And what is the plan to get the balance of your 20% match?
That would cover the 20% match.
Oh, I put that badly.
Yeah.
Your budget is 167,000.
Overall budget.
You have 55,000 on hand. Where's the other? And you're asking us for 50,000. Where's the other 70,000 coming from?
The other money coming from, as far as we still have money coming in from individual smaller businesses. With the passport is pulling in $200 from small businesses. We're going to go after sponsors for the Henry County book that's being written about specific dates in the county. We have not done all of our sponsorship yet as far as reach out. Like I said, we just mentioned those three. Those are the biggest three. We're sort of started there and hopefully go down and around and ask more people to be involved.
Okay. Question?
We good? Thank you.
Ed, if you want to go ahead and come down, you can start getting ready.
We do not. He said he had a harmonica, though.
Okay, next we have the Veterans Museum with Mr. Ed Hill.
Good evening. Okay. Just kind of give you a little bit of background. We're here on behalf of the Veterans Museum. I'm the chairman. Travis here is the secretary of the board. Several years ago, there was an assessment at Memorial Park, and as part of that assessment, they did a lot of community involvement, and within that community questions and stuff, they brought up the idea of having a Veterans Museum out at the park in the basement of the W.G. Smith building. So that's kind of where this ideal started. And then within 2 years, we formed our 501c3 and started organizing. And then in February of 2020, with the help of the Community Foundation, we was able to purchase some display cases, tables and shelves and stuff over at Macy's. They went out of business over at the mall in Muncie. And that was and one of the stipulations was that we couldn't move anything until they closed the doors for the final time, and that was March 31st of 2020. And we all know what happened in March of 2020. So Landon was our knight in shining armor and was able to get some young guys, and we was able to load it up and get it moved to Newcastle. But everything just kind of stalled with the lockdowns and whatnot that occurred. So, and then by this last year, at the beginning of this year, we had a lot of stuff scattered around. A lot of our memorabilia and whatnot was in storage. And we set about trying to get everything organized and start putting displays together. We got the cases wired, and we went over to the State War Museum, and Ed Tarantino's a good friend of General Goodwin, so we had a good visit there and got some ideas, and actually got some items that they put on permanent loan with us. Anyway, we got it all put together, and then over the Memorial Day weekend, was able to open. And we've been able to stay open every Saturday since then, and we've added Fridays. So we're open Fridays and Saturdays now since the first of the year. And we estimate we've had probably 120 to 150 visitors come through. We have a registry, but not everybody signs it. But we got 120 signatures of unique visitors that have come through. So since end of May of last year. So
we're staffed all by volunteers. So we have the museum members, museum board members, and ICAP's RSVP program, which is retired and senior volunteer program. So there's people who do like foster grandparents and volunteer at the hospital. They also have linked up with us, and we have several people from there who help volunteer, and that's how we staff. That's how we stay open without any paid staff or anything like that.
And then kind of as people have come to know us, we've started having a lot of people come in with their memorabilia, and we're starting to get a pretty good collection going. Excuse me. I'd go through some of this stuff. There's some of the things that we found out is, somebody like, I'm sure everybody knows Joe Dietz, electrician. Found out through this that he was a submariner in World War II. And he's got some great stories to tell and whatnot. I've talked to a lady that is in Chicago that used to live here. Her father, a native here, was a survivor in Korea of the chosen reservoir. Yeah, he was one of the chosen few. They call her the frozen chosen, and it just gives me chills to think that what they had to do to survive to get out of that mess that was they're completely surrounded. It's quite a story. But a lot of that stuff, and we're finding out that people are kind of nice. They like knowing that we're there because they've got this memorabilia that they're sitting on. They don't know what's going to happen when they're gone. They don't think that their kids are going to want it. So it's almost like a relief. They're glad to know that they have a place that they can bring these and that we can store them and display them, and that people don't forget. Yeah. So and with all that responsibility, that's what we're asking for here is we're asking for to get a security cameras in place. We have a touchpad for security, but
the entryway security that the park that the Smith building has.
Yeah.
So we're secure on entry and exit and stuff like that. Alarm will go off. Somebody doesn't punch in the code, but we're looking for more.
Yeah, we're looking for
cameras.
Yeah, when we're open, that we can just know that everything's safe, and that'll help us when we're trying to get people to participate to leave their stuff. They'll be able to look and say, well, this place is pretty secure, so I feel comfortable with that. And then I've got a green messenger bag that I carry all my files in. Travis has got his stuff out in his car. Steve, our treasurer, has a folder that he carries his stuff in, and then we all use our computers at home. So we kind of wanted to have a computer system that we could have that was centrally located and secured. And then we've got there's a restroom that was never finished in the restoration. It's the only room in the building that wasn't finished. And we got permission to renovate that, or to convert it into an office. We still got a little bit of work to do, and that's part of what we're asking for too. It's just a little bit to finish that up.
Office equipment and things like that. So again, we need to print off a sign-in sheet, or we need to find a treasurer's report or something like that. It's not sitting in a folder on somebody's sign-in table.
Yeah.
It's right there in the office in the museum.
Yeah. So, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, we all know that a museum can increase tourism and economic development. With the money that you're requesting, what does that do for economic development and tourism?
Well, it makes it more secure in the hopes that we can get more items in. I forgot to mention, but we've got 2 fully restored World War II vehicles sitting in there that are on loan to us. We've got some antique rifles that a guy in New Lisbon donated. They're beautiful. Those we put behind lock on our cases. We bought locks for it, and they're behind the locks. The rest of the stuff's not, but it's not easy to get to. You have to get behind the counter and stuff. But it's just, I think if people, that they'll be more comfortable to give that stuff. And as we build and we grow, then I think that in itself will draw people to the park, will draw people in town. I can see a lot of cross promotion with the other museums that they would come, and then we could benefit each other.
It adds another dimension to the park. Before the weather got cold, when we would have a lot of our visitors would already be at the park. They came to Memorial Park because it's Memorial Park, and of course you're going to go visit it, feed the ducks, walk the trails or something. But then they look over and they see this open sign and they see the logo in the window, and they stop in and say what it's about, and then they end up spending another hour just looking around, talking, sharing their stories. So it's almost like not quite another monument at Memorial Park, but it is a place where people can come and spend that time. So it's less, it's I guess another dimension is how I would look at it. Just help them build on what's already there.
Yeah. And we've had, according to our registry, we've had some out-of-state visitors that have come through. They just see it there. So we got a sign out on the highway at the museums there. So.
Appreciate your volunteerism and leadership on getting the museum open. It seems to be a nice fit. If you look at the founding of the park, going back to 1918, 1919, it's one of the largest war memorials in the state. In addition to being a park, and so I think it makes sense. I was curious about plans for expansion of hours that you're open, and I realize that it's volunteer, but looking forward, could you talk about maybe other days as you would add, or what kind of information you would use to add a day or take away a day?
We started, starting on January 1st, we did add Fridays. We were just open Saturday afternoons for a few hours, and the idea of them being not just availability of volunteers, but also when people are going to be at the park. And so and this was something that Ed really wanted us to do, was focus on getting more days. And so we started Fridays, Friday evenings. I think it's 4 to 7, so it's like we get after school and after work, and we're hoping we're kind of in that period where we can be incorporated as part of a Friday night out. If people are going, if there's a Fourth Fridays thing in Newcastle, or I think the farmers market in Middletown is on Friday evenings, so people can kind of incorporate that, of course, when the weather gets better and things like that. And that's already part of the plan that we're implementing, because Ed wanted, hey, we need more hours. So I guess as we get more volunteers, as more people are coming in, and we get a larger pool of that, then we can see when they would be available to, say, do a Thursday evening or something like that. So it's just growing as our volunteer base goes, and when we know that there are going to be events at the park, we have tried to coordinate with them.
Open up on those days.
Right.
Some of our volunteers have expressed it. We have 1 hour shifts right now. And they've kind of expressed that they would be willing to do more hours in a day, at a time, do a longer shift. So we'll probably be testing that too to see if that works. So and that we can stretch it out. So. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a few minutes for a break since we're a little bit ahead of time. Get back started in a few minutes. So next up, we're going to have the Knightstown Main Street Tourism Office with Kevin Ritchie.
Hello. Do I need to get closer or real close like this? All right. Hello. Okay. I got 10 minutes. I'm representing Knightstown Main Street, and we're looking for $5,280 to pay for our rent for a welcome center we want to establish in Knightstown that would welcome not only tourists and shoppers and you know, people all over the world, but also for our community too, because it can also serve as a reference point, networking. It can have a you know, meeting space in it. It can be a catch-all for a lot of things. Knightstown is extremely blessed. We just want to be blessed a little bit more. We're right on US 40, the road that built America. We are very close, but far enough away from Indianapolis and the interstate. People now, when they go on the one-tank trips, they are looking for more than just, you know, the tourist places. They're looking for shopping. They're looking for activities for their children. You know, we have many great things in Knightstown. The Hoosier Gym being the most known, brings in 60 to 70,000 people a year. The past few years, we've really stepped it up with our parks, our schools, our unique shops. We have a maker's market coming up that's handmade goods that will have about 6 shops on board. We have a winery. We have a farmer's market. We have almost anything that a larger community does on a smaller scale. And what we need to do, and what the reason for this welcome center is, we need to tell people. We need to put a face on it. You can have a Facebook page, you can have a website, you can have all of this recognition, but if you don't have people there to welcome them and shake their hand and smile at them and hand them a brochure or take them on a tour if they ask, then you don't really have a lot, you know, to offer unless you can really put a face on it. So we had an opportunity on the square, storefronts opened up, and we want to grab it, and the rent's cheap, and we're getting a discount through our landlord. There will be the 20%, the volunteer labor, including myself and others, will man it. Of course, we'll have the brochures and things like that, but hopefully when we get it open, you'll all come down and take a look at it, because it's a very unique storefront. It has exposed brick, original wood flooring, the tin ceilings. It's a very nostalgic looking, but very functional too. And it's right on the square. So we'll be there through the week and during special events, you know, whenever it's needed. And we can also have it be a hub for a lot of other things. We've lost our, you know, our local paper a few years ago, and that's the biggest thing that people talk about is, you know, what's going on, the communication, you know, the lack of it or whatever. Well, that's a physical place somebody can go into and say, what's going on, you know, or what's up this weekend, you know, that kind of thing. Because a lot of people, you know, they don't get online. We have a fair amount of older in the community, and myself, I would rather go and talk to someone than, you know, text them. So anyway, that's what I'm here for, and that's what we're wanting. What do you need to know else?
Okay, just a couple questions.
Sure.
According to some of the things we had asked for about self-supporting, how are you going to support this for the long haul? And what about community support? Does the community know about this? Are they behind it? Or
the community, a lot of the community knows about it, and they're going to love this when they all know about it, because we're going to spread the word really thick, you know. I mean, tonight, thank you very much for live streaming this, so all of my followers know about it now. So, Smile, you're on candid camera. Yeah, we always have community support for positive things like this. There's no way that it couldn't be a win-win. How we'll sustain it? Well, we'll continue to rely on our volunteers, fundraising, and private donations. That the Chamber will be involved in this, the Knightstown Main Street, Beautify Knightstown. We'll encourage other civic organizations, schools, what have you, to be a part of this, to utilize the center. We have 2 meeting rooms in the back that can be for, you know, small meetings. There could be all kinds of things going on there. But we need a hub, and we need people in it, and we need to have a face on it. So that's what we're wanting to do, and we're going to make sure it works, and it's gonna continue. You're welcome.
Kevin, is it ready to open, furniture in, all that? You're just ready, I mean, you're going to definitely be opening the doors?
Yes, very soon. It has the furniture in it. It needs just a little aesthetics, you know, a picture here, a picture there. We got all the brochures already. We have a location there in the Schoenfeld's office that for years has served as our chamber place with the brochures. So they have a lot there, and so yeah, we're almost ready to go.
Oh, one more thing, and it is open to anybody in the community. They would book it. Is there going to be a fee for that, or is that just free?
That's one thing we're going to talk about more. It most likely be free to like civic groups, local organizations, but if someone wanted to use it for maybe you know, for selling something or whatever, but most likely be free. And yes, we'll have posted hours on it. Hopefully, you know, Monday through Friday especially, and then on the weekends when we can, especially during when there's things going on, because there's always stuff going on the square. We have, you know, 2 restaurants down there now. It's very active. We have a bridal shop that brings people in from all over the Midwest. We just got so much going on. And, you know, the Hoosier Gym, that's been a godsend to us, and that gets the people there, but we need them to come down and look at everything else. And they do a great job up there at the gym to advertise the rest of the town, but once they get downtown, we need to really, you know, step it up and you know, let them know what all else is going on.
Kevin, I've got, there's no question that this will be a handy thing for the people there in Knightstown.
Right.
And it has the potential to be the best kept secret to everybody that's not in Knightstown.
Right.
How are the people from outside the area going to know about this cool thing and want to come in and make use of that?
Well, we're very lucky right now. You know, also the county has come out with the destination Henry County. So how that's working is it looks great to me. So we're going to rely on each other to spread the word. And we also have, you know, the Redevelopment Commission that is a fairly new organization, been around a couple of years, and they're working with a consultant on branding. And they're developing a website right now. So we're gonna really work on that with them. We're gonna, you know, take advantage of anything that's available to us, and social media as well. And I am a big proponent of social media, so I can help spread the word. And you know, the big thing is getting the people in there and putting a face on it. So we'll get the word out.
Could you, so is the budget for 1 year, or how many months does this?
This is for 1 year. What we're asking for is for 1 year. And then we will, continue with the fundraising and the private donations of it. But this is all actually for 1 year's rent is what we're asking for.
Is this project contingent upon receiving food and beverage funding?
No. I mean, we're going to do it somehow, but, we think that the county would want to support us in this because it's going to, and, I know you want to support everybody, but Newcastle, Knightstown, Middletown, we all support each other, and we've got a lot going on there, and this can only bring good things to the whole county.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're welcome.
Next up is the Knightstown Chamber of Commerce with Dr. Schoenfeld. If you're ready to go a little bit early, come on down.
Good evening, thank you. Can you hear me okay? With them closer, like that? Okay. This is the chamber. I'm here to represent the Chamber of Commerce in Knightstown, which I've been a member of since I moved to Knightstown, and that's been over 40 years ago. And I do have a handout here. I'd like to share with everyone the actual picture of the billboard that we're talking about. It has a proven track record. It's been through three-year leases, and it's still popular and eye-catching. The basketball shoe is particularly eye-catching and appropriate with Henry County's new branding. So it brings a lot of visitors, especially to the Hoosier Gym, but also to our town. And because of the basketball shoe and the emphasis on the Hoosier Gym, we actually share the expenses with the Hoosier Gym for this billboard we have for almost as long as the billboard has been up. So it is a collaborative effort with the Hoosier Gym as well. You know, I'm also highly involved in the Hoosier Gym, as some of you may know. This past 6 weeks during the basketball season, we've had visitors to the Hoosier Gym, high school basketball teams and their families and relatives and friends from greater Kansas City, St. Louis, Chicago, Cleveland, Memphis. I'm sure I'm missing a few, but Saturday games, and we've had some cancel even because of the weather from Kentucky and from Illinois. So it is amazing, the visitors, and they continue to come, and it's becoming more popular. And I believe, according to our events coordinator, Zoe Hunzinger, that our next year's calendar is almost full. So to the end that Kevin was talking about, you know, we would like to see if we could get a small amount of money to pay for this billboard for our 3-year lease and get a new vinyl. The vinyl is showing where it's on It's not a very big billboard, as you can see from the picture, but it's a very visible location. It's only 12 foot by 40 foot, and it's about 4 miles east of Highway 3, facing an I-70 facing westbound. And, you know, I know some people may argue that billboards are kind of becoming a dinosaur and people are using more electronic media, but I think it is still very appropriate. And if you talk to the people that visit the gym, we don't ask everyone, but they'll tell you, yeah, we saw your billboard. And it's kind of a little, hey, yeah, I remember the gym. I remember that movie. Let's get out and stretch. Let's stop in Henry County. Let's go to the restaurant here or buy some gas and look around. So again, that's the real idea for this billboard to continue. It would also free up money for us for maybe other projects. We're really seriously wanting to develop the corridor, the Washington Street corridor, we're calling it, the 2 to 3 blocks from the Hoosier Gym to kind of entice our visitors to make a little walk to downtown Knightstown and see the other attractions, to see our restaurants and our shops. And we have more than one lady that comes with dad and son and says, what else is there to do in Knightstown, or what is else to do in Henry County? I want to be sure I mention that we always tell our visitors, go to Newcastle to the Hall of Fame. If you love basketball, you've got to make that trip as well. So again, I think as far as your talking points for, you know, what you're looking at for this money, I think it is a good idea to kind of spread the wealth around the county. But I think our project does support tourism, and it's definitely for economic development for our part of the county. And we do have the 20% match in hand, and the project obviously will be self-supporting, and it's already there, and it has a proven record, as I said. So I'm open for questions. Anyone like to ask me anything?
Okay, you've just told us that this is an ongoing program, and it's already fully funded, and you're asking us to fund it for
a new 3-year lease.
3 years.
Yes, their lease is running out.
To free up funds for something else. Well, you know, part of what we're charged with is to use these funds to build tourism and economic development. And if it's paying for something that's already happening exactly like it's already happening, I don't know that it changes, it moves the needle on that for us. Now,
correct.
What I would like to know a little bit more about is what your plans are for that money that you're going to free up if we do fund this.
Well, we have a building, it's 101 years old, and there's always ways to make it better, make it a better tourist attraction. We've just recently, this fall, poured new sidewalks. We've added a roof retainer for major snows like we had this past week. We had to replace one of the 6 rooftop units, and that frees money up for that kind of thing. I can only see the tourism and the economic development increasing. And if we had the money, we'd like to put a billboard on the eastbound lane of I-70.
Sure.
Quite expensive.
We had the question similar earlier with the shutdown and everything. You average around 70,000 a year.
That was the average the year before the virus hit, yes. So, yeah, and that counts every visitor that walks in our door.
So you've got all the tournaments, and that's growing, and you're booked.
Back up and running, and our All-Star game will be coming up here like we've had in the past. We're renewing that, and great effort going on there to ensure we get most of the best players in the state of Indiana, both boys and girls.
And I know this probably is going to be a guess, but how many people do you think that billboard makes them stop in our county and spend some money?
Boy, that's a good, tough question. I hadn't thought about that. In a week, in a month, in a year? Well, I would say weekly. Golly, I really I don't have a good answer for you. I'd hate to come up with a number, and that's what I'd be doing. I really don't know, but it's significant. We know that. We know that. You know, when we first got the billboard in its first 3-year lease term, we did do kind of a questionnaire or a survey for our visitors, and that's why we continue it for 2 more 3-year leases, because we knew it's effective. So.
I know that there was a sold-out show there recently. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'm sorry, a sold-out show?
A sold-out
Yes, we had a rebroadcast of the movie Hoosiers, and Angelo Pizzo was there and gave a nice talk, and we had a great crowd, pretty much sold out from people. And we, our coffers have been kind of empty because of the virus, and all the games were canceled last year. So these folks contributed a $5 donation to come and see the movie, and we had a great day. So, thank you guys, and thanks for your service. Appreciate it. It's not easy making these decisions, so I don't envy you.
So next is the Art Association with Victory Bertram, and you know, you've been up here once already, so you know the 10-minute and 5-minute warning and 2-minute warning. Okay.
I'm ready. My name is Vicki Bertram. I'm the Executive Director from the Art Association of Henry County, and I'm here asking the Food and Beverage Foundation to help us to maintain a very important historic structure, the pavilion behind the Arts Center, and I would like to address the questions that were put forth in the email that was sent. So beginning with tourism, how will tourism be affected? The pavilion is a beautiful place. I found a website today, a blog today, that was a Fisher's photographer who had photographed weddings in our beautiful arts park and pavilion, and was bragging on our arts park as one of the most beautiful places in Indiana for an outdoor wedding. So it's a gorgeous wedding venue. We have the Henry County Concert Series. We are initiating the Youth Henry County Concert Series this coming year, kind of battle of the bands sort of thing. Fourth Fridays, St. Patrick's Day Festival, which I would like to invite you all to, March 12th. It's going to be a great big display of all kinds of craft beers and wines and, Absolutely. Go to Newcastle on Tap and get your tickets now. Get them early, and they're cheaper. But it's an all-day tasting event, and there'll be Celtic music and Celtic dancing and vendors, and it's just going to be a great time. And this is going to bring in, I'm working with Indiana on Tap, which is an Indianapolis-based company. They are bringing in microbreweries from the entire region, wineries from the entire region. So we've got this huge tourism element in this particular festival. We have a bunch of other festivals that we're planning as well. We have a Green Spring Festival, which we're calling Cool Climate, and that's going to bring in sort of the environmental element from all over. We did host prom there last year. We'll be hosting prom this year as well. There'll be the Renaissance Festival, which actually has a multi-state following. And so there are these Renaissance people that go wherever the festivals are. And so we're working with the library on that particular festival. They do a lot of the groundwork, and we host it. I'm also with the library coordination. We have the Noteworthy Concert Series, so we're going to have a lot of music outdoors this summer, a lot planned. I'm trying to put together a Bluegrass Festival. That's not a done deal yet, but I'd like to get that going as well. Then in the fall, we'll be having a Harvest Festival for the kiddos and the parents and the young families, trying to get some of that young blood in. Lots of private events. I'm really pushing wedding venues right now. Beautiful, beautiful wedding on October 2nd. We have pictures on our website if you want to check that out. And in addition to that, we're not only asking for roofing of the pavilion and the posts of the pavilion, which are deteriorating, but also the roof of the artistry annex, which is at this time not usable. We've had to just, leave the building because this ceiling is falling in from the roof leak. So the Art Annex and Schaefer Studio brings in a lot of artists from around the surrounding counties, and they come and paint in the Schaefer Studio. There's a group of ladies every Tuesday morning that come in, and they're from various places. We also teach several classes. I have a lady from Carmel that comes and teaches a class in the Schaefer Studio, and those are very well attended as well. In terms of economic development, if we look at all of those aspects of people that we bring in for tourism, we're bringing them to this downtown area where they need to eat, so they're going to go to maybe Primo. They need to entertain friends, so maybe they go to Twin Lions. So all of the downtown businesses can benefit from that tourism as well. People are really, really impressed with the Arts Park and Pavilion. It's a great space, and I get this thought often. I get this from people where they're like, we didn't even know this was here. This is great, And I had a wedding from Muncie, and they said there's nothing like this anywhere in the area. We've been all over looking for our wedding venue, and this is the best place anywhere in the area. So I mentioned the St. Patrick's Day event. They actually came to us. Indiana on Tap found us on our social media, and they came to us and were so impressed with our area that they just were thrilled that we would host that. We do have the 20% match covered. I have several aggressive fundraisers in place right now and going forward in the future. We're going to raise as many funds as we can. However, we do have an Edward Jones account that would come up with that 20% match even without the fundraisers. But I will be trying to raise that income. It is self-supporting. We won't need any further updates to the pavilion. Nothing expected for 20 to 30 years. The Food and Beverage Committee did actually roof our pavilion the last time, and it was 25 to 30 years ago. I don't know. I wasn't here then, but I'm told 25 to 30 years that it's lasted, and we look forward to it lasting that far in the future. We do have forward-looking ideas, perfect venue for all of these sorts of events, as well as private rental. And the annex, making it usable again, making it functional again. We are shovel-ready. We have the estimates from McGuff and then they are not local. Pritchett's, which is local, and Regal Roofing, which is local. So we tried to do local, but that pavilion takes a lot of specialty kinds of work. The contractors are ready to begin as soon as the check hits the door. I'll be calling them. And we do have lots of active community support, including the artists of the Schaefer Studio classes. We've worked with the Chamber of Commerce. We work with Main Street. We work with the Elks, with the high school, Victory Lane, Henry County 200. We work with the Hinsey Brown to bring the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier exhibit, the Henry County Concert and Youth Concert Series. The Newcastle Henry County Public Library we work really closely together with because we're right there, you know, in the same space, and they use our facilities a lot. Fourth Fridays, literary clubs. We had a Hawaiian festival. I don't know if you got to see it. It was fantastic. We had a fire dancer that was throwing these fire batons around. It was great. And a Christmas walk. And this coming year, we're coming up with this fabulous tourism event. We're calling it the Christmas Village. And if you saw our Christmas tree display this last year, that was the preview. We're doing the entire arts park this next year, and we're going to be charging admission, and people will be like, have you seen what they have in Newcastle? And they'll be coming here. So our X factor is we use the pavilion for tourism. We use the pavilion for economic development, for community and private events, and we are passionate about preservation of this historic structure and not letting it deteriorate any further. I would like to mention that the numbers are wrong in the grant because the annex roof is an additional $24,000. That is not in what we asked. So that's what I have to say. What do you have to ask me?
I'll go first again. So I'm pretty excited about your presentation. You want me?
Thank you.
I want to move over there almost.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah,
That's great.
But if, you know, we're just a recommending group. When we recommend that this gets funded and one of the council members say, well, why are we putting a roof on something? What do we say?
We say this tourism element, this gathering place needs to be preserved, both for its historic value and for the income and the revenue that can come in from other towns, cities, even states. And the posts especially are deteriorating. I don't want this thing to collapse on a wedding party. It just doesn't look good, you know. Bad for business, bad for the town.
So I had the opportunity as part of the Stellar presentation to do some research. And one of the projects that I chose to include in my portion of the Stellar presentation was the founding of the Arts Park. It truly is a special place, and I say that as a resident, and I also say that as you know, if an opportunity is given to, you know, on a community tour, for a site visit, for prospective business, if there's time, I always pull into the Arts Park and we get out and we walk.
Great. Because
it's a special place. And so, all that being said, what do you have in place maybe to build your own capital reserves so it's not totally dependent upon food and beverage?
So there's a grand plan that I have put in motion to build an addition to the south of the Arts Center, which would include a gallery, a sales gallery, where we can actually sell artists' work, and that being income, because we get commission from those artwork, to then reinvest into the Art Center and the pavilion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my question is, have you had an engineer look at this structure? I mean, rotting posts.
Yes.
Is that, I mean, obviously, I guess they're rotting at the ground. Are they rotting at the top? And is it anything else involved up above the ground?
No. When those posts were originally placed, apparently they were not placed properly, such that the rain and the snow have gotten into the base, and it's at the base where we're seeing this deterioration of the wood.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. I just, if the county council elects to give you $200,000 to do all this, they're going to want to have a confidence that the building's going to be here for the foreseeable future. So,
Absolutely.
questions?
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Have a good evening.
You ask about the projected time frame?
Yes, that we would submit this to the council. When are they expecting us to be done?
I thought we were doing March 24th.
Yeah. I mean, right now, our self-imposed, right, the committee imposed, so I'm saying that the committee can change it, but right now, we want to have a recommendation with projects and funding to the council at their March meeting.
Okay.
It looks like some people may be here, but even just like with the bicentennial request, I mean, that's pretty timely. If we don't get it by March, I don't know when, and I don't know how quickly the council, I mean, how quickly will they even decide? Are they going to rubber stamp something quickly, or will that take some time? So
I would be very shocked if they didn't take it under advisement.
Yeah.
At the very least. And likely they'll probably want to see some presentations from some of these people.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
No, the amount that is committed is 1.2 million, and that is funds on hand, and then they are open to doing a bond, but there is no specific amount and there's no specific commitment to bond. They'll just consider it.
Towards that end, I think we give the council 2 recommendations. Here's a recommendation if you're going to 1.2, and here's a recommendation if you're going beyond, and let them figure it out from there.
So you already know the 10-minute rule?
Yep.
5-minute warning, 2-minute warning, and then 10 minutes of questions.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, no problem. You're the timer. You're the timer. I understand. Okay. I'm Travis White. I'm with Rose City Game Library. Also, one of our board members, Steve Llewellyn, is also here. He just didn't want to come up front. So Rose City Game Library is a 501c3 nonprofit. We're actually located 2 blocks from here. Depending on how long you've been in Newcastle, you know the building by different names, but it's the old Brammer Furniture Building right on the corner, old dress shop. Now it's in the window, we've got 476 board games when you drive down Main Street. You see them right up there in the window. So we are like I said, we're a nonprofit. We're free to everybody who comes in. This 9:50 spot was great for me because we're open until 9 o'clock in the evening during the week. So kids after school, people after work, parents and things. We actually had, I think, 15 homeschool kids and parents in tonight doing a homeschool night. We have 476 board games. I'm really hoping we can get to 500 soon just because I'm a nerd and I want to complete that, hit that next milestone. But we provide free board game experience. Tables and chairs are all set up for everybody to come in, even if you bring your own game, if you play Magic the Gathering or Pokemon or Dungeons and Dragons or Trouble, Sorry, Risk, anything off the board. We don't charge people to come in there and play. The philosophy being that this face-to-face interaction is going to be more than just play. It's learning. We're learning conflict management or conflict resolution and task management, things like that. And we're bringing people in when the kids could be, or adults could be playing video games. So this is an alternative to that. So it's sort of, sometimes the game just kind of disappears and it's just having a conversation across the table. And then if you're mad at the person across the table, you can't really call them a name to their, behind, a microphone and headphones at a TV screen. As some of us have heard people like holler. It makes more sense to be like, well, Landon, I don't like what you did in this, but let's not call each other names and play another game and kind of learn that skill. And it's this social interaction skills that we're helping people learn. And there's, I don't want to go too into it because I'll start getting misty-eyed at some of the kids that we've brought in. Kids who don't have, they come there because they don't want to go home after school sometimes. And we provide that. And we provide these 20-somethings who also don't want to go home sometimes and they need someplace to go. So that's what we provide, and we do it free of charge. We're all volunteers, and we want to create a place where everyone is welcome. When it comes to our request for food and beverage grant, part of the thing that we realized, basically all of us board members realized at the same time, is that while we're open for all sorts of people, wherever they are, social, economic, outcast, island of misfit toys, we were not ADA accessible. wheelchair accessible, we weren't. So I'm really proud about the near 500 board games we have on display, but it's up on a raised stage in the window because it used to be a dress shop and furniture shop. Well, that raised stage didn't have a ramp. If you're in a wheelchair or you have walking problems, you couldn't get up there. So we need to get a wheelchair ramp there. At the same time, we have a restroom in the building, but it's an old warehouse. So we have a warehouse restroom that is a working, functional, private facility that is not wheelchair accessible, and it's not necessarily something we want to use as it's not a feather in our cap that we use to kind of market us to families and things like that. So we want to get an ADA compliant restroom in an easier spot to get to. And those are our main things just for our community that we want. We want to provide that. Bigger than Rose City Game Library is having an ADA compliant restroom, an easily accessible facility, opens us up to the possibility of hosting gaming tournaments. And obviously, past couple years, COVID has stifled a lot of that stuff. But before then, Rose City grew out of my personal business game shop, Saved Games, and we had every Friday night we had 30 people coming from Muncie, Richmond, Anderson, Rushville, coming to play card games, and we used to be there till 4 o'clock in the morning at this old place, and it was a more accessible place, and we could market more, and we could invite more people there. We can't do this in this facility, so we want to add this restroom so we could then start hosting more things, bringing people from out of town. Whether there was a competitive Scrabble tournament, thank you, a couple years ago, euchre tournaments, day-long games of Risk or something like that, just to get people there and bring people in and give them something to do in downtown Newcastle. We're also a nonprofit. We want people to come in, so if we're open on a Fourth Fridays or a Christmas walk or something, and we'd have a restroom, as opposed to a Porta John, or the city has, I think the city has a restroom at 1400 Plaza, but then people wouldn't have to go into a business. If you're going into a gas station, you kind of expect that, but that's 18th Street and 6th. We'd be more located right here, very much like the public library. That's kind of how we see ourselves and how we want to be, is everybody can come in and do what they need to do and get back out. So is there anything else, Steve? No? Thank you.
Okay, you mentioned, well, as you know, we're looking at the tourism and economic development factor.
Right.
And I'd be interested to know a guess at least of the numbers of people that come in and from elsewhere to your place. And also you mentioned something just a minute ago that said this was, I think your wording was birthed or something like that, out of your business that you ran because you had those people coming. So can you explain, did you see that happening at your business and then decide to start this 5013C? Or how did that transition or happen?
Okay. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. We keep track of people when they come in. So like I said, we had 15 tonight on a Tuesday in February. But I wish I had the sign-in, but we have Fridays and Saturdays are super busy. We just had a big event. We were there until I think 3:30 Friday night. Not everybody. Most people left around 11, 12. So people come in and they do order in pizza. They order Grubhub. They are paying their 1% food and beverage tax. Or they can bring their own food in. They can. We do let people know that they can bring. The families that came in tonight had their coolers and their snacks and things like that. But were you able to pull up? 478.75 hours in January of visitors. And I think we had 109 volunteer hours. Yeah, we provide those volunteer hours, and that was in January when there was a snowstorm and stuff like that too. So that's what we're bringing. We're bringing those people, and these are generally young people coming downtown and stuff like that. When it comes to people coming in, I started a card shop in 2017, I think, and it grew year on year until 2020. And a big part of that were these in-person events. And we saw people coming in from out of town, and my business was growing. We closed it in 2020, as a lot of things did, and then realized at the beginning of 2021 that the community we had grown of teenagers and 20s to 30s needed someplace to go. They were now stuck at home. They couldn't come out and get that in-person thing. So we started the nonprofit because I guess there were afternoons where I would sit there and I'd watch a 17-year-old who didn't have any money just come to hang out, and I would get frustrated because he wasn't even buying a pack of cards. And then I had to fix my brain and realize that he was coming in because there was no reason for him to go home. And when we started a nonprofit, it was because a group of us adults who had time and wanted to keep this community going realized we wanted those kids to come out, and we didn't want to be worried about getting a buck from them. We wanted them to just have a place to go. So that's why we created Rose City Game Library, completely separate from Saved Games. Saved Games, I sell stuff online now. The main focus here is the board games, and getting as many people as we can to come in safely, taking precautions, cleaning and ozoning and stuff like that. But we want them to come in and not have to worry about shaking them for their lunch money. That's why we created it. Yeah.
Okay, my question is that, that sounds like a wonderful environment you're creating, but my question is, do you have a plan for the 20%? Will the completed project be self-sufficient? Those are my questions, because it's what, with a nonprofit, I was wondering where you might be generating. So those are my questions.
Thank you. Yes, we have teamed up with, we're actually working with the Newcastle Career Center's property management class, are building the ADA ramp for us. The materials, I mentioned Saved Games, which is my business. Saved Games purchased all of the building materials. Let me think. We're working with that. We're doing fundraising. We're trying to get a popcorn fundraiser going right now, and ultimately whatever's left over, I'm going to put on my American Express card so that we can get it built, because we need it. And that's, whatever we don't raise through private donations, and we've got we worked up a donation tier that we've got on our social medias and things like that. And so we're working on that piece, and then I'm on the hook for the rest of it.